Okay. So that's the biggest incentive. I just put a house on the market last Thursday, had over 100 scheduled showings.
Wow, that's a ton.
That's too many.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
You don't have to beat each one of those.
No, that's just people bringing their agents in, but you have to answer each one of them, answer all the questions.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So you've got some legwork to do, when you have a listing and you have that much. Now, granted, this was probably, I did price it on the lower side, but at the same time, that's what you get when you do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
just have to know that.
yeah, it's amazing how much time it can take to respond to that many people. I mean, I suppose when it's with respect to a listing and details and stuff, it's probably a little bit more not transactional, but like less like emotional. So each interaction probably goes quicker. But I noticed that when I was reaching out to all of my contacts, especially because they were all people in my sphere, a lot of it involved catching up and stuff like that. So I've spent a lot of time each day just getting back to people and chatting and having conversations.
And you'll find as long as you're checking in on them, you're when you're first initially reaching out, and you can't let this worry about you, right? Because you're cultivating the relationship, and if they know you have another purpose, but it's more about reacquainting and getting to be a part of their life to show that you care, because people don't know how much you care until you show them.
Mm-hmm.
That's when your relationships will grow.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I've been enjoying, like thoroughly enjoying it, even connecting with people that like say I just took a class with or something and kind of got along with in college but didn't know that well. Been talking with, honestly, making more friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. How's everybody else doing? Jeff, how are you doing? Good. Let's. Awesome.
Zoe and I are in the same room, so one of us mutes
Got it.
so we can talk without the echo. And so normally we listen through her laptop, so it takes a moment for me to actually speak.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Okay, we can switch.
Okay. And I'm just getting people in. Hi, Kel. Hi, Corin. Destin, nice to see you. Love your haircut.
Right back at you.
Stephanie, welcome. Welcome. Who's excited today? Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm excited too. You're not going to be stuck with me teaching today, I don't think. So today's going to be awesome as far as what it's going to show you, but it's, I believe, let's see here. I think it's Matt Kendall. You're going to get Matt squared today, 2 Matts. Let's find your business. So where do you go looking for your business? Okay. And he's a great resource. Actually, if you follow him on social media, he's a great follow. He does post through November, so he's involved in the social media aspect of getting leads and internet leads and all of that good stuff. Okay, so on this note, it's about 1:03, so we've got an appointment at 1, and I just wanted to touch base to see what let's do some check-ins and see how the weekend went. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How did our lead generation go? And are we having any issues? Okay. And so we're going to report some numbers. And Zoe, were you raising your hand?
I wasn't, but I can. I've been messing with my lighting, trying to figure out how I can see my face and not be blinded. But yeah, I've got numbers. We actually had a pretty good weekend. I don't know how, I'm a detail person, so if I'm giving you too much, just let me know.
How many
Um,
contacts, adds to the database, notes?
We had 4 conversations with contacts. We added 5 new contacts to the database. Our Facebook page went live over the weekend, and we now are up to 25 likes and 27 follows. And we have an upcoming plan to work with an allied resource that we connected with, who might be able to, be good for clients and possibly be able to do a referral system with them. We also tested out our smart plan. We're still kind of having some persistent issues with setting up our team branding in Command. It's, when we give out our app or things like that, the information is kind of mixed as far as who it's coming from and if it's branded to the team or to an individual. So we have a meeting set up with either Jet or Morgan on Tuesday afternoon.
Very cool. How did you get that appointment? Let's tell everybody.
The allied resource?
No. How did you get the appointment with Jet and Morgan?
Oh, yeah. Well, we had to email them and ask because we've been trying to get this set up, and unfortunately, we hadn't been getting through to Laura. She's super busy, and we'd had like a 10-minute chat with her once, but hadn't been able to get on her calendar. So we sent them an email, and they gave us times that were available, but all of them were during class time. So I asked if there was any other options, and they said they had some free time built into the calendars every afternoon on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at 4. So you can just request it.
Okay, and you can actually go to KW Tech Help, TECHHELP.com, and just open a ticket, and it will let you pick your time there too. There you go. Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate it. Very well. And here's what I would tell you in the team situation, because I work with my wife also, a little feedback. Sometimes it's confusing because every email I send out, it comes from her. Even though I'm the lead, she does the transactions. As I like to say, I'm the beauty, she's the brains. And no. Fortunately, she's in there and I'm out here, so I'm safe. But I had to get over it. I had to get over where it's coming from and who it's come, and just maybe a dual signature at the bottom might work. Or the branding of it is just Team Spate. Everybody knows you're a Team Spate, a team. So
yeah, we have a lot of the branding is good. And at the bottom, I was able to finagle the marketing profile to have both of our names listed. We've watched a lot of online tutorial videos to help us out with the process, but there's still a few sticky things. And so we were hoping maybe they might be able to resolve them for us, because the app just isn't working right for me, and it's working okay for Jeff, but it has my name on it and some other stuff. So anyway.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Love it. Jeff, can I put you down for the same numbers and kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Love it. Abigail.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
From sunny California, right?
Yes, it's so beautiful here. I'm like, oh, I needed this vitamin D from the sky. Okay, well, I actually had a big ladies' night that my mom gathered, but I ended up just like networking with every single person that I didn't know. And it was actually really useful because some of them were like, they're like, oh, well, I just got a new job. So 6 months from now, I really do want to buy a house. I'm like, okay, well, let me just write down all of your information and
That's
it's
awesome.
going to be great. 6 months from now, call me or whatever. But yeah, so I'm just going to keep poking at them every couple weeks probably. And it was nice because they were all kind of drunk, but they all were just like telling me what they wanted. And I was like, oh, well, that will be easy to find and this won't be, but whatever. But I felt like it was, I didn't want to go, but I went, I went for my mom, but I really just went so I could like advertise myself.
I would take any
but yeah, so I talked to probably 10 different people there.
Okay. How many added to the database?
But yeah, then I only added 2, but I have like a list from that night that I need to still add. Probably like 5 more that I could add today. And I did tour, or I guess I walked through one vacant house on Friday. I try to do that any chance that I get. And I actually on my social media, I made a big post about people like reaching out to me and letting me know their favorite small businesses, which got me a little bit of traction as well. And have that on my to-do list to reach out to each of those small businesses and like say hi and let them know that they were like referred by somebody that whatever, just try to like form connections there. So that's on my to-do list too as well. I'm excited about that.
I was gonna say, love that. Love that. And using people's resources that they've had good experiences with, and then you cultivate the relationship, build a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah, that's something I picked up. I think Aubrey was her name, but yeah, it like totally struck me. I was like, that's a great idea. So I just posted, was like, I don't care, like if it's related to real estate, completely unrelated, just like tell me about, your favorite small local business or the best experience that you've had somewhere. Just like, and a lot of them were real estate related, which was nice. Like painters, construction workers, flooring people. But I was like, oh, cool. I'll just reach out, and if we click really well and I can refer their services, hopefully they'll refer me, and that would be a good thing to start up.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Let's go well, and I think all of those are great ideas. A little fact that I want to share with you also, in talking to people about lending, the contact that you had that just got their job, and 6 months, is she in the same field that she worked with before? She's in a new field, so that's going to depend on the lender, and it may take up to 2 years for her to get qualified. So having that conversation so she can better prepare, but that'll also give her more money down, time to save, that kind of thing. But each situation's different. I just want you to be aware of some aspects of it. Okay. Tyler.
Sorry, I was having some issues unmuting there. I went into this a little bit earlier, but that was before everyone was here. I've been consistent in posting on my Facebook, and I've definitely seen the interactions start to go up, and the reach start to go up as I do that. Even just as simple as like, on the day I decided to take off and go do a photo shoot with my girlfriend, I automated a post through Ignite ahead of time that it didn't even have anything to do with real estate. It was just a picture of a dog, just to tell people to have a good day. Just so that there was something on that page each day. And then everybody that interacts with my Facebook, or the business page rather, I have been reaching out to them, sending out about 10 or 15 messages a day, depending on the day, spending a lot of time doing that, cultivating some of those friendships, even just old acquaintances that I never really knew that well. I've actually gotten to know some of them a little bit better over the course of the next few days, including one who's thinking about becoming a real estate agent over in Illinois, in Chicago. Yeah, he's pretty interested in Keller Williams too, so maybe he'll become an agent over
I was
there.
going to say, keep talking to him about it, and also even if they're in Illinois, have the conversation, and build, because if he names you as your sponsor, it's in your downline. It doesn't matter what state they're in, what country they're in, they're in your downline.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Also just trying to help him out, because he was very interested, and I was very real. I'm not trying to get him to be an agent if he doesn't want to be an agent, because he was wanting to know about like costs and things like that. And so I was just giving him as many resources as I could. It was a pretty fun conversation, actually. But I figure once I make my way through all of those people who interact with my Facebook, I'm going to try to move on to more direct prospecting outside of my sphere. I've also been working on putting together a list of referrals and things like that. That's a little slow. I did make an appointment with one person who runs a cleaning company, but she ended up not showing up to that meeting, which was a little annoying, but oh well, it happens.
Okay. Overall,
and then,
how many contacts do you think you made?
probably 40 over the weekend.
Perfect. That's good. Now, when we're talking to our contacts, we're trying to set appointments.
Mhm.
Okay. So one of the things that I like to do on this is for our lead gen is just sit down and text 5 people, ask them how it's going, start a forward. You were on my mind, and I thought I'd reach out and set appointments. See but there's nothing open, so we're just having conversations right now.
Mhm.
Debbie, let's move along. Debbie, how was your weekend?
It was good. I did a lot of different things this weekend. When I finished my business card in the tech world, which isn't my favorite. So I got through that. I planned on going to some open houses of new construction, but interestingly, well, they were in the same area, but there was only one like model home open. The other ones weren't really open and they were all sold, which was fine, but they just weren't really available to go through, which I was surprised because they were individually advertised that way. Well, I did have 2 happy hours with friends that did not know I was in real estate, and got to share with them, catch up on life with COVID. I sent out some messenger
Okay.
correspondence with some people that I hadn't talked to for a while and got some interesting feedback conversations. I joined some new groups on Nextdoor Neighbor and Facebook also. Looked
Okay.
for more local groups. And let's see, I connected with about 5 friends that I hadn't talked to and added 4 people to my database.
Okay. So overall, how many contacts? How many real estate conversations? How many you think you had?
Probably about 10.
Okay. How many appointments?
None except my happy hour appointments.
Well, that counts. Those count. Those are appointments, right? Let's get in front of people talking real estate. It doesn't have to be conventional. It can be as fun as we want or as boring as we want, right? But the important thing is how many conversations. As my coach says, how many people did you ask? Do you know anybody who's looking to buy, sell, or invest? If that comes up, that's an appointment. That's a conversation, right? And that means you're being purposeful about it. Destin, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. So my wife Heather's been a real estate agent for 3 years, so she's worked our sphere pretty hard. So we did something a little different. We talked to a title rep on Friday and got a list for farming a local neighborhood. So we've been working on getting that set up. All in all, I probably had about 8 conversations related to real estate over the weekend. And we did go visit 5 or 6 houses on Friday that were vacant to tour. And let's see, what else have we done? I'm still working through they're working through the team stuff. I'm working through all that too. So all the tech stuff, and I kind of got onboarded backwards. So we're kind of going backwards. So.
It's not always perfect, but it will get there. So, and you have a great resource. Something about that name, Heather.
Yeah, right. I don't know what it is.
Heathers are awesome.
She says Heathers are awesome if you didn't hear it.
I married a Heather, so I concur. Let's go, Chelsea.
Hello.
Hi.
So this weekend, I'm not super tech savvy. I'm embarrassed to say that, but I don't love the tech side of things. So I spent like 3 days trying to formulate a nice looking flyer, which is ridiculous. But today I went and printed them off. I have my envelopes and my stamps so I can get them in the mail this weekend, surrounding the neighborhood that I just sold my listing in. I'm representing those sellers. One second, buddy. Those sellers in buying a home, and they have very, very serious guidelines and a pretty high limit on what they're looking for. So that is kind of like a whole nother adventure. It might take a few months, I think, to really get them what they want, but in the end, I want them to be happy. So we'll just keep touring homes as they come. I'm also representing her sister and her husband as first-time home buyers. And that's been a little interesting because where I moved from, lenders really reach out to you as an agent. They bring you coffees, they take you out to dinner. They really like want your business. And so here, especially with COVID, I'm finding like I'm reaching out to lenders to try to make contacts, but I do know how important that is. So I was getting mixed signals from my first time home buyers, and 1 second, my dude, from from my first time home buyers, and they were like sending these things back and forth. Her sister was kind of involved as well. And so I went and viewed a vacant home yesterday that they wanted to see. And then it was in Cresswell, last minute, kind of said, you know, we might want another paycheck under our belt. So I reached out to their lender with my client's permission today to really get on the same page and see exactly where they were at, because I'm pretty forward with my clients, especially first-time home buyers, because I have represented one before. When it comes to closing costs, earnest money, especially in this market, I want them to be like highly prepared when they get to the table and they find something they love. And so I got some amazing information from Lori Willis today. I learned a lot about USDA and conventional loans. And that being a conventional loan, because that's what they're looking for. I have 2 appointments tomorrow with some friends that I used to know in the area, and one of them works at a local business that my friend also runs, a restaurant. And so I am going to, with all the girlfriends I have who own their own small businesses and have little children like these running around, try to come up with some sort of outdoor get together that we can have to all promote ourselves. And have our children present at the same time. My husband's in the restaurant corporate world, so I know all the rules. And so they have a nice outdoor space that I think will be good for the kids and good for the moms, and kind of make it a fun thing and involve everybody, where everyone can promote their businesses. And one of the classes we had was really inspiring, talking about using products from local businesses and putting them in our closing baskets. And I really want to incorporate that, because I have a lot of friends who do like oils and all the fun things. So I'm going to try to use that as my sphere, the mom sphere that we have going on right now, because it takes a village. And I have about 15 contacts to enter into my database. I got my Instagram going, and my sellers volunteered to get my Facebook up and running, because it's not my favorite and I'm not on social media. And so she loves that kind of stuff and said, no, I want to do it for you. And she knows a mass amount of people in this area. And I thought, that's amazing. So I'm going to take her up on that, and she's going to help me roll that out. So anyways, lots of little positives going on. I think I felt like I wasn't making progress with the kids at home. Oh my gosh, but I am making more progress than I thought. I am so sorry.
No, you're good. We all understand homeschool. That's the reason I'm out here in the cold weather. It's too noisy in there. So I get your pain. I would say a lot of good things. One thing I would take notice of is you're asking for the business, thinking creatively of ways to get in around people, and also asking for the business. And then you come through it and you've got, people offering to help, right? So you got a good support. Love it. Stephanie.
Hello there. So since the last time we spoke, or since the last class, I've had 8 conversations regarding real estate specifically. And added 18 contacts to my database. I did decide to change my phone number before I get any of my marketing materials printed. Coming from out of the area and working remotely for the last 7 years, I have an out of the area code phone number. And so I just felt like that wasn't matching up with what I wanted for my branding. And so I decided to make that change this weekend. And so I used that as an opportunity to reach out to contacts and work in, the reason I was changing my phone number was for my new career in real estate. So working on getting those text messages out to everyone.
I love it. How many appointments did you go on?
I only had 1 this weekend.
Okay. And that appointment can come from Zoom, come from conversation. I mean, it's an appointment. Cal. How'd your weekend go?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was good, but I was very busy in the last week too. I had the contact, like I'm run out of my contacts now. I contact all my friends and coworkers. Was my previous job, but so I'm connecting new people. But the last weekend, I was able to get 1 buyer lead. So that one, and then he's actually looking for house, plus they need the lender too. So and I introduced one of the lender that I know. So connecting them. I had a long conversation with both of them, introducing to each other. So that's pretty much it about the 4 new contacts and 1 lead.
Love it. Love it. Well done. And Corin.
About 10 people I talked to.
Got it. Any appointments?
I took a client out to see a property, and then I actually went and toured a couple vacant houses. Did a Facebook Live video of one of them, only the inside, and I did ask for permission from the listing agent, but I didn't include an address or anything, so didn't necessarily need to do that. But didn't see a lot of response to the live video, but I haven't been doing a lot on my business page recently, so that may be part of it. Plus, with the Facebook rules, they don't freely advertise your Facebook business page as much as they do your personal one.
I actually tag my business page in every post, in almost every post that I do on my personal page.
If it's real estate related, I've been trying to tag it or check in or whatever method I do, to try and link that together. But if I post personally, not business related, then I don't do that.
Karen, perfect. Karen?
Okay, it took 2 clicks. And I've got the Zoom on the other screen, so I'll just stare at my computer camera so it doesn't look like I'm talking weird. This weekend I had my grandkids, but I did going back to take them back home, looked at a house. I didn't go inside, but checked that out. And I've had quite an interesting journey trying to get the assessor's sketch. At least that's what we call it in Lane County, and this place is in Lynn County. And the title company couldn't help me and sent me to go on my own to the assessor's department. Anyway, I found what I wanted. That was interesting. I did have a connection Sunday. Sometimes I feel guilty about, I'm always picking up my phone and I try to time myself how much time I'm on Facebook, checking things in groups, but I have a listing appointment tomorrow because of that.
Very good.
Yeah, so
how many contacts do you think you made?
oh heck, I don't know. I've been so bad. I'm taking drafting classes over at Lane, do residential drafting. And so I do talk about real estate quite a bit in my classes, especially the construction codes class right now.
Perfect.
So, I mean, that's it. So that'd be another contact is my listing contact that I have.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Alicia.
Hi. So over the weekend, I ended up putting 31 contacts in my database. They're women actually, that I know from my independent business. So I went and put them all in command. And then I had 1 lead come in from realtor.com that I called, and I didn't even get the chance to leave a voice message because it just rang and rang and rang. So followed up with an email, followed up with a text. Hopefully that will go through. And then one of my goals for self-growth this year that I put on my GPS was to listen to a podcast every day. So I've accomplished that so far this weekend. Even while I was getting ready to do the things that for my day, even on the weekend, I just spent my time listening to podcasts instead of music or Netflix or anything. So that was a really good firm decision that I made. Just nip that in the butt. And then I have a potential buyer for my seller. I have to reach out to the listing or the buyer's agent and see if our property is going to work. And then we'll proceed with that. I also am still searching for a property over here for under 300,000, which has been a nightmare to find anything. Our inventory is so low and those things go the second that they're put on the market. So I'm still scrounging for my buyer for that. And I think I had probably 3 solid real estate conversations this week. So, and I've got one appointment. I had one appointment today that I went and viewed a home. That's why I was late to class.
Perfect. I will tell you this, as a listing, when I have a listing, every listing stays on 3 to 5 days in my world, because that's truly the only way to get the highest price the market's going to bear. If you take the first offer, ultimately it's up to your clients, but ultimately if you take the first offer, what happens? How much money did you leave on the table?
Potentially a lot, yeah.
Yeah, potentially a lot. So I will tell you, and especially in the 300 to 350 price range is really scary in the Portland area. It's not scary, it's a lot of fun. Actually, I had a lot of fun, met a lot of new agents. So but I see, I'm going to say, I want to call out somebody. Stacy, I absolutely love seeing you here, and welcome. And
thank you for letting me sit in.
I absolutely love it. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, hi, I'm Stacy Vada, and I've been at Keller Williams now for close to 5 years. I've actually sold real estate for 33 years, so you might be wondering why I'm sitting in, but the last 2 years of the 33 has not been business as usual for me. Year before last, I went through a really ugly divorce after being with my ex for 36 years, so I won't go into details, but my work was way down. And then since June, I have been battling breast cancer. But the really great news is I only have 5 more days of radiation. And a week from today, I'll be completely done with all my treatments. So I've had 3 surgeries, 8 rounds of chemo, and it'll be 20 radiations. So it was stage 3, but I am cancer-free right now. But I'm definitely, the last 2 years, I have not done, I mean, I still managed to have, I don't know, not many, like 6 or deals a year, 7 deals a year, which is way, way low for me. But, with technology changing and things are changing all the time. So real estate is real estate, but the way we practice changes every year. So I asked Matt if I could sit in, and I'll be quiet now, and that's why I'm here.
And the best thing is we always have, no matter where you are at in your business, right? That's what Ignite does. It's going to propel your business because we're here to learn. Today, we have a fantastic opportunity. And he's over here. I don't know if everybody can see him. You get Matt Squared. And so Matt Kendall out of Eugene, many of you know him. Pretty awesome guy. I've had the privilege to know him for 9 months? We met at Mega Camp. So, great guy. You guys are lucky to have him in Eugene. He's born and raised in Eugene. He's become licensed in 2017. Was in the retail for over 13 years before that, before he decided to become a full-time realtor. He's also joined the ALC and is in charge of the profitability committee. And chose to work with KW because of their emphasis on continuing education and growth. Now, if you'd have probably asked him when he started at Keller Williams, did he ever think he'd be teaching Ignite? So I'm going to start with that and say, did you ever think you'd be teaching Ignite?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Well, I'm going to say it's a pleasure to have you on here. Absolutely love it. And you're going to teach them all your good stuff, right?
Okay, that's right.
So
hey, it's my pleasure to be here. So I appreciate the opportunity to help anybody and everybody I can. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, that came through. That comes through on a daily basis. So if you follow me, there's some really good stuff on social media. What was it? Real Men Wear Pink. You got some good ideas and stuff. So
we're trying to get out there and help the community,
That's exactly it. Community oriented. So with that, I'm going to hand you over the host. Watch. If somebody shows up late, you may have to admit them.
Yeah, I got that on that participant thing here. And then I want to make sure I can share before you go, Matt.
No, I'm not gonna leave you hanging.
It's all fun and games till technology doesn't work for some reason.
Well, I think the fun part is when you get a text that says, "Did you just shut everybody out?" Meeting? And I'm like, it wasn't me this time. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Been there on that call. Yeah.
Hey, first, Matt, I'm not sure how to, Matt number 1.
Matt Spade.
I put a comment in the chat before you go. I just thought if you had a chance to take a look and see if that counted, just let me know before you leave.
Let me check it. Found these on the, let's see, which one, who was that speaking?
Zoe.
Zoe?
So,
okay, Zoe. Okay.
I could just tell you out loud if it's easier.
If we made a Facebook's announcement on our personal page and had a total of 41 comments that we responded to and a total of 53 likes, do we count those as contacts? Have you had the conversation? So anybody who is engaging in your Facebook page and liking and commenting, there should be a follow-up personal message that says, thank you for taking the time to follow my page. I appreciate, come from grateful, whatever you want it to say. You know, I appreciate the follow, and I hope you find lots of valuable information.
Would you do that via Facebook or via text, or not everybody we have a Facebook contact for?
I am an absolute, I love the fact that Messenger is a great way to go, right? Here's the reason why. It narcs itself out. So when you open it, even if your person doesn't want to say something, that little bubble goes down and says, oh, they saw it. And then you're like, uh-oh, I can't just ignore it. Shoot, now I've got to respond. Otherwise, I'm going to look really bad, right? So as Matt's smiling.
It's huge, because then you know, essentially know the next step, right? Because if somebody's like, oh, I never got your message, well, clearly it shows that it's been read, or if it's been opened, somebody's opened it. And then you can either, then you have a different course of action where it's like, oh, instead of maybe repeating yourself, you say, hey, well, I didn't want to be, I don't want to bother you, but if you have any, like sort of deviate from your maybe script, original scripted plan that maybe you would put to everybody that liked or commented to get that engagement back. That's really what it's all about. Even if you're talking about nothing, like as long as you keep them on the hook and you keep talking to them, eventually it's going to come full circle and have. I literally the other day went to buy a mini fridge for my office, and a friend of mine was selling one, and she goes, I've been meaning to get a hold of you because, we're looking at selling our house later this year too. And I was like, awesome. I literally just asked how big your fridge is. That's it. Right? Like totally unrelated. And it just so happened, boom, now she wants to list her property. I'm like, maybe I should buy more fridges. Maybe I should just, so.
Facebook Marketplace, if you have anything that you're looking for, of course, be careful and be safe, but it's a great way to have the conversations.
Yeah. Like seriously, I've taken just free things just because I know that where I'm picking it up from, I potentially have a buyer that wants to buy in that area. Then I'll say, oh, it's a really great neighborhood. I can't believe you're giving this away for free. Blah, 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 blah. Then you start a conversation for the next 30 minutes.
Free Christmas tree pickup would be a great way. You did that?
I did it. I haven't actually posted it yet on social media because I'm working through. I bought a drone to get some real good, high quality video for it. But yeah, I went over like gangbusters. Good. And it was super simple. I have a truck and a trailer. Like I didn't have to do any actual, wasn't like I was like cutting trees down in the forest. It was driving around to the neighborhood that I already live in, meeting people. And I put a sign on the back of my trailer and people were like, you're amazing. And I told them I'd do a donation to Ronald McDonald House. Money's coming in, food's coming in, canned goods. So it was super easy and the reach was huge. So.
Love it. Love it. Like I said, pretty inspiring guy right down there.
Hey, back at you. Thank you.
Hope mega camps open again. Anyway.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Anyway, so you guys are in good hands. Everybody take 3 minutes and text 3 people that you're thinking about right now. And it can't be Matt and I. Just 3 people that you've been wanting to say hi to, shoot them a text. It's a great reach. It's a great way. Everybody loves hearing from you. Doesn't have to be business. Everybody knows the Ford script, right?
Yep.
Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And I'll let you know when I start having my conversations about recreations and dreams. So once I start talking about occupation, they want to start talking about your occupation. 97% of people have one of these, and they all have a home app on it. So they're all in tune to the market. But what can you add different than any app can add? Listings went up 30% from this last December from the previous December. Yet our inventory is at 0.8. It's a great conversation to have.
Hey, at least you're at 0.8. We're at 0.6 down here.
All right. Hey, update. My wife just poked her head out the window and said, 16 offers.
Wow.
104 showings, 16 offers.
That's crazy.
Great place to be. All right. With that, Matt, it's all yours. I am going to go off to my next meeting. Appreciate you. If you have any troubles, Matt, let me know.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. And can everybody see, just double check while you're still doing your text, you can see the Ignite. I'm sharing the right screen right over there. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you about another 45 seconds and then we'll get this party started. All right, everybody ready? Let's see here. So let's just double check where we're at right now. I know Matt went over kind of the beginning stuff with you. So expectations, everybody's done the action reveal. Contacts, already talked about your note cards. Everybody's got a tablet. Let's see. Got your 10-4 done.
What's that about a tablet?
Oh, just on the screen, it just says to make sure that everybody's got your tablets and you're all able to see the screen, and I want to make sure that all the content's getting to you.
It must be a holdover from when they did these in person.
Sorry, that was not. Hang on. There you go. Okay. All right, so lead generation. So we're gonna go to the next one. So everybody's doing 10 contacts a day, speaking with 10, writing 10 notes. Is everybody still previewing, trying to do their best to do 10 homes a day or 10 homes a week, even with COVID?
I've made that 2 weeks in a row. Feeling
Nice.
really good about it, actually.
Yeah, that's great.
Matt, we've tried, but I thought there would be a simple way, being a data guy. Well, you just search by vacant homes. And we were talking about that through the chat earlier. Zoe and I, it's just been difficult. We thought we'll just go see open houses last weekend. And there were lines out the door of people going in. And I felt uncomfortable spending 20 minutes of an agent's open house from 2 hours, right, to actually go in and just look around when I have no intention of buying it. So I thought, you know what, we got to find a different way. And it sounds like the only way is really to find an area you're interested in learning about and go house by house by house. And I guess best practices are to text the agent. Is that the right way to do it?
Yeah. So what's funny is I did the same thing. I have a search in RMLS and it's literally just vacant homes. And so I basically check it every morning. And then if there's something that I'm interested in or.
Let me stop you real quick because we were told there is no filter for vacant homes. So let me guess, you're searching the comments. Unless I'm wrong, I was told by Mara and others, there is no search field for vacant homes. You have to open up each one separately and see if it's vacant or not.
No, I have it. Let me pull it up. I can tell you.
You see in the chat earlier, others were saying the same thing. Like, how do you find the vacant homes?
Are you both working out of the RMLS? Maybe there's different different MLSs with different features.
No, this one. So there's only 4 that are coming up under the search that I have. A couple withdrawn, a couple canceled, a couple expired.
So what you do is, what?
What'd you say, Karen?
Well, what you do is you go to your advanced search, you go to additional filters and search by occupied by, and the box that comes up lets you select vacant.
Right,
That's how you
do it.
Yeah. And some of those will still have text agent or whatever, but at least that's just on the ground floor. 'Cause, especially right now, if I am even just driving from my house to Keller Williams, I'll find a random house that is vacant and I'll go tour it just because I know that, it's probably not going to be on the market very long. And it's a great opportunity just to be able to get an idea of what's out there. But yeah, Jeff, I totally get it. There was a house that we were looking at up on, I saw a bunch of houses this weekend. I forget where it was, Foothill, I think. And it was a for sale by owner, but it was not for sale by owner. It was, they were handling all of the transaction, but the listing was on the MLS. So it was just a flat fee, they just get some on the MLS and they did their own open house. And when I called them, I said, hey, I want to make sure protocol. I'm with Keller Williams. We want to make sure, I really wanted to emphasize safety first. And however you're doing it, because you're the seller and, and the owner, I want to make sure that, I'm abiding by what you feel most comfortable with. And it was from 12 to 3 or 12 to 4. And I showed up 10 minutes early because I wanted to be there. And I told my client, I said, we want to be in first because I want to get in and get out of there. There was probably at least 20 cars when I was there and it was just packed. And so, yeah, it's tricky because if I didn't have a buyer, I probably would have figured out a way to go and see it afterwards just because, we were, everybody's taking precautions, everybody's doing the right thing, but man, we were basically bumper to bumper, elbow to elbow walking through this house and everybody's kind of doing the social, awkwardness. And so, yeah, that's why I much prefer to try and be able to get that list of vacant so that I can just see it on my own, Okay, so let's back up just a bit. Okay, so you guys are previewing 10 homes, writing notes. I don't know how important the conversation has been about notes, but I'll tell you that I write birthday cards and tons of response. And it's all positive. It's all thank you. Everybody's address is in Arlid. If you don't know it, off the top of your head, that's been something that I've really preached, because it's pretty cheap in regards to the fact that you can physically write. And I have just a canned, in fact, here's one right here. I have just a normal birthday card, right? It's boring. It's not super exciting, right? It's not going to change your life. But I have a funny joke or a funny comment about my policy on eating cake and how I love it. And so I send it out, right? And I just say some quick little nice fast sentence, slap in an envelope, boom, send it off. And so many people have just been like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It meant so much to me. And I was like, whoa, wish I had done more of these at the beginning, because it really lays a foundation so that they can go back and look at it. And right at the bottom, it shows, boom, Matt Kendall, shows Keller Williams, shows that I'm a realtor. So easy, cheap, good ROI. All right, let me go back.
Order those from like the same sites you'd order like a business card from?
This one, I think get from, I think this one's Vistaprint. My business cards I get from Michael Lewis Marketing, just because I like the design a little bit better. I think it's a little more modern of a layout. But yeah, that birthday card, I mean, I could probably do the same thing if I wanted to, but I'm trying to keep it less markety and a little more lighthearted birthday, because I'm also going to send them every time that I have a listing, they're going to get a card. Every time that I close a sale, they're going to get a card. Like, it's going to get relatively redundant, like marketing wise. So I try to say like, happy birthday, by the way, I'm a realtor. You know what I mean? Just to kind of keep that inconsistency of marketing, but also the consistency of the fact that I'm reaching out to them on a regular basis. So then they, feel like I do care, and I'm not just trying to, find out when they want to sell their house next. Cool. So looks like, let's start. We're going to take 20 minutes and do our calls. Now, I was actually having a conversation with Paris earlier today about this. So we're going to take 20 minutes, but as we were talking about with Matt, with Facebook earlier, like, I love the idea of doing calls, but if you're any kind of engagement is a huge win, guys. I want to really double down on that, where if you're sending texts and getting people to reply, if you're sending Facebook messages, getting reply. Earlier today, I went and checked out some apartments for lease downtown, and I literally got the person because I was on Instagram, and they're like luxury, like $3,000 a month lease apartments. But she was like, yeah, come on, take a tour. We'd love to put you on our social media. And I said, I'll put you on mine. Like, so there's no bad engagement. So just, while we're doing this for the next 20 minutes, let's, I'm going to be doing the same thing, and just double down and reach out to folks and get those contacts. So I'll set a timer, and, we'll get back in 20, and then I'll be here the whole time. So guys, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to yell at me, okay?
You've reached the office of JMI. Please press 1 for JMI Insurance. Press 2 for JMI Limousine. Press 3.
All right, guys, we'll give you about 60 seconds to wrap it up here, and then we can get back to it. All right, we have any successes? How did everybody do? Karen, do you have 35 appointments set up for this next week?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
No, I reconnected with a seller person, so just making sure I'm in front of her face before all the other postcards.
Yep. And that follow-up is funny because how quickly you can have a sale and then forget about that person. And whether it's a sale or just an engagement, right? Even if you just get a response via text, just to be purposeful and continuing to reach out, right? You're staying top of mind, so that's great.
Well, I did goofy pop buys at New Year's, on New Year's, so that helped.
It's perfect. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's really funny. The things that don't necessarily feel like they're going to be life-altering home purchase actions, doing a pop by, dropping off a pie, doing a stupid trade pickup, like these aren't like things that are going to, alter the course of your life. But they really mean a lot to a lot of people. And I think that, and I will fully recognize that I underestimated the value of that kind of thing. And it's pretty mind-blowing once you look at your text messages, right? When you're doing your lead gen and you look back at the last time, there's that timestamp of when you last reached out to that person can be jarring sometimes. And then sure enough, they go, oh, hey, cool. Thanks for checking in with me. I actually am looking to finally buy a house, or hey, you know what? We're tired of this area over here. We want to move to this area over here. So. Okay, handwritten notes. You guys are all doing those still? Writing cards. I'm just going to give you an example. I know that you were talking about that one that you just purchased on Amazon, Abigail, but yeah. Did you have a yellow one I just saw that you just pulled up, Zoe? Yeah. Yep. Just going to show you an example. And they don't even have to be like, I know I've seen some of these people that go on Etsy and have paid like crazy money, like $8 a card, right? I'm like, you know what? Look, taking one of these, right? Boring, blank, but writing a note and throwing a business card in there and telling somebody to have a great week makes a huge difference. It can really be, it's that one extra little personal touch, and it'll take you a couple minutes, 45 or 50 cents a stamp. But it can be pretty impactful. So that's cool.
Quick question about that, because my thought was if I get the nicest, prettiest card or most attractive card possible, we didn't pay $8 a piece for it, but we did, pay a little bit more, because my thinking was they're going to keep it if it's nice looking. Like I would keep a card if it was nice looking versus a card that was more kind of generic. But have you found that that's any more effective or less effective?
I mean, I try to vary it. I kind of do it based on, I wouldn't say my demographic, but I try to, like I know that my I have that email from eEdge, and I always thought that like a fancier, much nicer, very super polished version was going to be like a deal breaker, that I had to have that. And my dad was like, "Oh my gosh, your emails are amazing," and it's just so generic information, but he loves it. That guy like calls me every month just to tell me thank you for sending an email, and I forgot that I even send it because it just goes out generically. So I think it's you know, I mean, obviously you want it to represent well, but I think that the action of doing, you know, of what you're saying in it, if you just make sure that that is, you know, as polished and as professional of a message, I think it, you know, I haven't seen any ROI where someone's like, "Oh my gosh, I really liked your amazing card," versus just like, "Hey, thanks for the card," you know, like, thanks for taking the time to, you know, go that extra little bit. Like, I probably could make my birthday cards like way nicer and super cool, but you know, I'm like, you know what, it's making sure to just be repetitive and send those things. I think that is probably going to get you further than, now, of course, right, if you have like this high fly CEO that needs to, you know, it's like a super high D and he only, you know, looks at things that are slate gray and that are like, you know, 8 inches by, and, you know, then sure, maybe he needs a card like that, but you got to kind of know the audience, you know. So
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, sure, please.
Oh, just about business cards. I was gonna let you guys know that I actually found somebody who's like an aspiring designer, and she was like designing my business card for free if I like talk about it, like, you know, post it and everything. And she was like, "I'll promote you and everything." So that was really lucky. And I don't know if you guys know anybody else who's doing that, but I thought that was like a really genius idea for us to kind of trade that way.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think stuff like that is so overlooked because until you hear a real life story like that, I think it's, you just don't know it's out there. And there's a ton of people, right, that would love that free advertising because they're trying to get their business off the ground. You're trying to sell some more houses, so you want your name out there too. And it's like the perfect marriage of both of you need something and both of you have the ability to help that person, you know? I think that's the core value, come from value, right? Like come from contribution, I'm sorry. So that's an excellent example. Okay. Scripts. Is anybody using these new scripts? So, well, not really new, but the referral ones, or the ones here on page, let's see, 10, 9 and 10. The new to real estate, new to Keller Williams, or the remind that you're in real estate or new to the area. Has anybody used those yet?
It's a goal for me this week to start practicing them, not because I want to read off a script, because honestly, it doesn't sound how I talk at all. So I think it's just going to make me sound fake and people aren't going to want to work with me, but more I want to memorize it so that I get the information down and I can adapt it to how I speak, just so that if somebody asks me a question, I'm not like, you know.
I like agree with you 10,000%. That was my huge hang up with scripts at the beginning, because I was like, I want to engage with people, but I would sound ridiculous if I read it verbatim, but reading it, remembering it, practicing it gives you that sort of like freeway wide, right? So you can sort of navigate the conversation and still be able to use those tools along the way. So yeah, that's a perfect way of executing it, where it's great to take it into consideration, right? Like I love the context of scripts. I think there's some real great, not one-liners, that sounds cheesy, but you know, like little phrases that you can drop and that you can use that help you with your, you know, validates your knowledge of real estate.
Absolutely.
I went ahead and I took the script that we had and I made all kinds of notes all over it and highlighted in different colors, because I'm a color person, about the key takeaways, like the points that I needed to make sure to cover, so that I could still remember to do them, but also use my own words, language, style to do it. I spent a lot of years in research, reaching out as a subject contactor, and you have a predefined amount of information you need to get, and there's a certain level of staying within that, not going outside of your zone, but you also still have to be able to relate to all different kinds of people. So just getting the parameters down for me really helped. And then, you know, I can then kind of craft my own personal stuff around without forgetting the key points.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I think that's the biggest thing is I cannot tell you how many times I've heard somebody talk and I'm like, I obviously am here to sell real estate, but also I'm here to build relationships, right? That's what's really going to like have the longevity of selling to the most people. And if I sound like a robot, I'm going to feel like a robot, and then it's going to definitely come through like very mechanical. And so it's right to be able to take the script, extrapolate it, and then re-put it back together with your own twist on it while still being able to put out the message. That's a total win all the way around. And again, right, just like you said, you're able to say it in the way that you would say those words, just in your own way, with your own cadence and your own, right? You're not feeling like you have to like think about the next thing. You've already got it there. So that's perfect. All right, let's see what is next. So we're going head in the game. Lead generation is number 1. This is true. Now, the question is, why is active lead generation important? Who knows? To lead generate consistently and on a regular basis for extended periods of time, not sporadically.
Well, I think one thing with that, it would be the timeline, in that everyone's not on the same timeline, right? So you need to lead generate now for somebody that may be ready in 6 months or even 9 months or 12 months. You also have to lead generate, even if you had a listing or you have a buyer, you need to lead generate for when that one, you know, is done. So you have to constantly be working on your lead generation.
Right. And especially because lead generation comes in different forms. So if I'm lead generating for a buyer, right, I want to find them a house. If I'm lead generating for a seller, I want to either find a listing, or I want to make sure that when that listing goes live, every possible person that I can imagine on the planet knows that not only is it for sale, but I'm a realtor. And if this isn't the one for you, I'm happy to help you either sell, right, or find another one. You can be a buyer lead. So there's just to double down on those each one of those things is super important. So that, like, I mean, I send a postcard to my parents, right? Like, they're not going to buy a house anytime soon. They're going to be that house. They're probably going to die in that house. They're going to be there forever. Like, it's a fantastic home and they love the neighborhood. And so it's going to be there forever. Right. So not looking for them for that to happen. But I also want, when they have, well, maybe not now with COVID, but I also want to engage them with that conversation, right? That, like, hey, if they have a friend or a neighbor, guess what? I've lived there for like 20 years. I know that neighborhood front and back, probably more than most of the homeowners know it themselves, you know? So, yeah, to have that active, consistent lead generation rate's probably not going to pay off, right? You know, every day you're not going to schedule 38 appointments. Now you might, that would be amazing. But knowing that, right, you're laying the foundation for future sales.
Can I share something?
Yeah, please.
So what I've learned, and my experience has shown this certainly to be true, is that whatever we are doing today is going to show up in 3 months.
Yep.
So I am just coming back to work after being out, and you know, it's really frustrating because after working years of having things in the pipeline, I'm starting my pipeline all over again. So I think that's really important to be realistic as agents, to remember, you know, think about, okay, where am I going to be in 3 months? Well, what I'm doing today is going to show up in 3 months, because it takes time to get the client to sell the house, to have the closing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and you know,
it's constantly building your pipeline.
Yeah, you're always building it and putting different pieces in different parts of the year, knowing that, hey, this person might not be ready to buy today, but hey, maybe they're going to be, like, you know, armed to the gills in June because that's when they want to be out of here for whatever reason, right? And as long as you're top of mind, I mean, yes, I will say literally the last house that we closed in December, or sorry, that she bought in December. It just happened to be 2 houses down. I happened to be going through it because it was vacant. I walk out the front porch. There's like a woman just standing there. And I was like, hey, are you with a realtor? What are you doing? And she's like, I'd love to see the house. And I was like, okay, who are you working with? She said, nobody. Can I work with you? And I was like, yes, I would love to show you this property. So I was like, cool. Well, like, do you have financing? And she's like, yeah, I'm pre-approved. I'm like, okay, all right, great. So now what are you doing? She goes, well, I also have a home to sell too. And I was like, okay, well, so this is insane. This is the most insane, like, what? And it just happened to be, right? I had the choice to actively go to my office and like keep sending no cards or going, you know what? Maybe I'm going to physically park my truck in that driveway with my branding on my side, look at the home that was vacant and just be there. And just, it worked out perfectly that just happened. Now, of course, that's an outlier situation, but knowing that that's that active lead gen, right? So you're trying to hit all those avenues, right? I went to the Gordon this morning because I wanted to go see those apartments. Now I'm doing this, right? Later, I'm going to show a property. And so to kind of make sure that your active lead generation is super important, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a cookie cutter, one size fits all, one thing that you have to do. To know that whatever you feel most comfortable, it's like scripts, right? You find your lane and then you just capitalize on it, and you'd be surprised at just what can happen with that, But yes, 90-day rule, always, right? As soon as you meet somebody, get them under contract, know that check ain't coming till March, So yeah, it's a great rule. So, okay. So what do you think? So the question is, what do you think is different about the lead generation of successful agents compared to their not so successful peers? What do you think? What do you guys think makes the difference between successful and not successful?
I would say fear, just the fear of putting yourself out there, the fear of rejection. Some people don't like one-on-one contact. For me, I like the social aspect of it. I like to, network with people I know and kind of expand their more organically on the daily, but I don't love like the door knocking and things like that because I don't like soliciting, and I am like the typical, don't call my phone solicitor. I have no soliciting on my door. So I have a hard time going into someone else's personal space and doing that. So just, if that's not your niche, just trying to work around that and find other ways to advertise yourself, flyers, cards, and really I think utilizing it in your daily life is just a big thing, because we generally talk or see, people in our lives every day, and just really utilizing your friendships and the connections that you already have to really expand. And word of mouth, I've always gone by that. I really feel like word of mouth gets you, farther than anything else. And getting those good reviews and just kind of working your own network organically versus like forcing it.
Right. Yeah, I will tell you, I struggle with door knocking, and I think I literally, same thing. Chelsea, I have a big no soliciting sign on my door, and I'm like, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that's literally doing the thing that I actually have a sign on my door telling people not to do. So right, there's kind of that like yin and yang where it's like, I want to do the right thing by my client, but at the same time, so now, of course, this is pre-COVID, so there's some like massaging of how you do this now, but, and I've definitely done this for other agents doing like an open house. I will door knock. I'll go to 100 doors. Now, the caveat is not door knocking for like listings, but because I have a flyer and I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to see you. I just want you to know I'm working hard for this client. And you know what? I'd love to see you at the open house. If you don't show up, totally cool. But like, it's sort of that you're able to sort of do the activity without being too salesy. And for me, that was like a huge win, because I'm in the same place where I'm like, ugh, I don't want to door knock and be like, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate? Right? Because that's the phrase. And that's true. We always want to do that. But figuring out ways to kind of work around the salesy side, is key. And so I think that thinking, kind of trying to figure out ways outside the box where it's like, hey, if I'm going to door knock, like on this last listing, I didn't even have to, because it sold ridiculously fast. But and we didn't have an open house for that one. But yeah, if we did open house, that's because I always have some kind of tangible, this is for you, I'm out, you know? And at that point, people are much more receptive. And I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you. Like, wouldn't you want to pick your own neighbor, right? Like figuring out ways to kind of like massage it so that it's not, you know, Matt Kendall Realtor, but like Matt Kendall, your buddy who will help you sell a house, you know?
So do you ever just put flyers like on people's doors? I mean, would you leave it there if they weren't home? Because I guess in the new COVID world, people have different boundaries, right? So I typically would have no problem doing that. But in COVID, I know there's lots of people that feel really uncomfortable with even touching items. So is that something that you would do? Would you like leave a flyer for them, or would you not go that route?
I would leave a flyer. I mean, I think, so right when it first started, I was looking at a property, I'm trying to remember, I think it was last summer. And we all had face masks, so it was pretty early in the whole like COVID thing. And so whenever I show a property or go look at a house, right, generally, as a general rule of thumb, I'll door knock, if it's a serious buyer that actually wants to potentially buy it, I'll door knock the house on each side, right? And then the person across the street. So I can get the triangulation around the house. And I'll just be like, hey, I'm a realtor. I got a really cool buyer, super excited about the neighborhood. Like, essentially, what dirt can you dish to me? Like, what do you know? Is the house going to burn down tomorrow? Or like, is it a meth house? Or like, is it the best house and you wish you had bought it 10 years ago? Like, give me the deets, right? And so, but I, especially now, I'll like ring the doorbell and then I'm very far back, right? And I don't have it on today, but I will wear like my badge, right? Or my, not badge, but my name tag or whatever that says Matt Kendall Realtor. So it's very, and I usually park in front of the house, and my truck has like Kendall Sells Homes on the window. So I try to make it very obvious that I'm not just like some dude showing up at the house versus somebody who's actually like, I want them to know that I'm credible, not just like a salesman, you know? And then I think people are responsive to that. And, you know, I just keep my distance, say, hey, I want to make sure and step back. Like that's always how I started my script, was like, hey, I'm not, you know, I'll door knock. And then I very quickly am a good distance on the porch and just say, hey, I'm looking at the house. What can you tell me? And, you know, even with masks, I mean, people aren't wearing masks at home, but they'll, you know, still, they were great with engaging with me. So, and again, it really is that come from contribution where, you know, I just want to say, hey, like I literally have somebody that's going to be in your neighborhood, you know. And sometimes you get people that are weird who are like, well, make sure they're not blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not really how this works, but okay, great. Like, you know, so, but yeah, I would still leave a flyer. Now I will tell you, I had a lady chase me down the street one time telling me not to leave my blankety blank trash on her door porch. She lost her mind, and the neighbor that I was door knocking to talk to was like, "Whoa, looks like you met so and so," and I was like, "Thanks for the heads up." Like, I didn't know she was crazy. So, right, you're gonna get those, but I think as long as you're coming from value, I think it's a fine thing to do. All right, lead generation, yes, it is job number one, right? Leads. The more leads you get, right, the more appointments you're going to make. The more appointments you're going to make. It's the funnel, right? Down to agreements, contracts. Just like Stacy said, from lead to payday, we're looking about 90 days. So we want to make sure that that lead pool is huge, and then know that we can get the most number of those leads under contract. So we can get more listings. Prospecting, yes, is the cornerstone of lead generation. We definitely want to. It's a great quote, actually. What is the relationship opportunity here? So, just like you're saying, Abby, with you know, being able to find a relationship in which it's mutually beneficial pays off so much more, just versus a one-sided, right? Because obviously, I'm looking to add value to you, but hey, like I have a buyer who my wife goes to get her nails done. So I was like, boom, let's blow your nail salon place up, because I obviously don't get my nails done, but I'm like, she's awesome, right? I want to sell her a house, but also, hey, if she's like good at her craft, like obviously that is going to only help each other, right? And that's the mutually sharing of whatever, whether it's social media or if, she wants to work with me again, or if a neighbor wants to work with me. There are so many opportunities to ask that question of what's the relationship opportunity, and not to exploit it, but to literally, be beneficial to both sides.
I have a question when you get a minute.
Yeah, no, please go for it.
When you're maybe like previewing like a vacant home that you don't have a buyer for or a seller, just like me, brand new, just looking at vacant homes, and you see people like, outside their houses, like nearby, or people out on walks or whatever, do you think it's beneficial to like try to start an organic conversation with those people about like what you're doing? Or do you feel like they're kind of already more invested in whoever is selling the home?
No, I'll always engage. In fact, it's so funny you said that, because I was literally showing a property on Sunday, and I literally stood in the street for like 5 minutes. I was like, somebody's got to come out of their house. There's nobody out here. Like, what are y'all doing? It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. No one's going to come outside. And so like an idiot, I literally just stood there and I was like, well, I guess we'll leave now. And so, I mean, I even actually drove around the block and then came back. Like I looped, but the opposite direction of what I left, just because I wanted to know more about the house. And it had been on the market for a while. And I was like, I feel like there's got to be something deeper to this property. Any property right now that's listed at $300,000 and it's been on the market for 90 days, I got red flags. I don't know what it is, but I want to know what it is, right? And so, yeah, 100%. I would always try to engage somebody. And for me, at least, because I like make everything a joke, I try to figure out some way to ask a question of them again, right? Same like we were talking about earlier, where it's not like super realtor-y, like, I'm here, I got commission breath. It's like, hey, what do you know about this house? This thing's been on the market forever. And they're like, yeah, well, we saw blah, 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 right? Because everybody, your neighbors, not your neighbors, but like everybody's neighbors around the property that's getting listed has some dirt or has some kind of like insight. Yeah, everyone's watching, right? Like a hawk. Once a sign goes up, people they want to tell you everything. So yeah, and it's again, dual beneficial, right? Whether you have a buyer or not, they don't know that. And shoot, you might even be on the proper, market to buy it yourself, depending on what the condition is. And if they say, oh, that's such an awesome house, we, would really like to see, a family with kids because we have kids or blah, 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 whatever. You can get a temperature for what the neighborhood's like too. I mean, that's not just previewing properties. That's part of it, but also knowing that in the future, if you do have a buyer for that general area, you can be like, oh yeah, well, guess what? These 3 houses have families with kids, right? That property I just sold, the guy across the street was like, well, thanks for taking the kids away. And I was like, what? And she had a daughter, right? Which actually benefited me because she actually moved into my neighborhood. So my daughter now has a playmate, but I said, hey, I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can to get you somebody, And he's like, well, I was a realtor for 30 years, like in whatever, Phoenix. And I was like, okay, I know where this conversation's going. But it also gave me a feel for, hey, cool, that neighbor has 3 kids. So at some point, maybe they're going to be looking to downsize once those kids get older, or maybe they're already pushing at the gills and they want to sell now and get a bigger house. So, and that conversation would have never happened had I not, just engaged. So yeah, for sure.
Hey, Matt, I have a quick question. I don't want to get you, if it's off track, just say, Jeff, we'll answer it offline. But I think as a new agent, let's just say that our goal was, let's get 12 units per year. I think sometimes we think I just need to have 12 leads, right? And so it's difficult to figure out, what does a typical day in the life look like if your goal is 12 deals closed? You said 90 days in the great scheme of things to close 1 deal. I mean, is it you're typically working with 5 buyers to get one of them to find their home of their dreams? I know the market really does impact that, but from your perspective, after doing it for as long as you have, I'm just curious if, I know listings are selling immediately. If we had 12 listings, we probably have 12 sales, but most of us are probably going to work on more buyers than we are listers in the beginning. So I just want to mentally wrap my head around, if we wanted 12 deals that were all buyers, does that mean we're working 24 people, 36 people, that kind of thing?
I mean, I think probably ultimately it depends on obviously what they want, but I think it depends. I think that knowing whether they're an A, B, or C buyer, like there's a guy that I have right now who's like ready to pull the trigger, but his list of like specifications for what he wants, I'm not kidding, is like, it's literally a unicorn. Either I'm gonna have to find him land where he can build like the one, or like God's gonna have to shine a light on it in the middle of the night. Like, because, so like that I know is I'm in it for the long haul. So yes, I'm feeding him listings. Like I'm showing him, like I'm not showing him actively, but I'm like making sure to continually have communication about different properties. But knowing, hey, I need to find the people that are pre-approved or are much more, I guess, like fluid, in their thinking, knowing that this is a hot market and we need to be flexible on different things. So kind of depends.
So it's not unheard of that you might have 10 or 15 people that are looking for houses and you're trying to manage that whole thing.
I have a list. Yeah. Like I got tons of buyers, and like, right. I got one guy that we're looking in the South Hills. I think I've written 4 or 5 offers, and we're in backup position now on one. And that's like the closest that we've come. So yeah, I mean, and then again, right. Then of course you get the buyer that, I literally met in my neighborhood. So like, it sort of depends, knowing, hey, once you get one buyer and you look at him and you go, okay, what's the likelihood of this person to close in 90 days? And then sort of evaluate, not necessarily how much time I want to invest in this person, because you always want to give everybody the best quality service, right? But knowing if they need a very, very specific home, I'm probably not going to show them 30 houses, because that's just, I mean, it's good for your brain to be able to see those properties, but.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Tyler had a question in the chat on A, B, and C, and I think you just nailed it. Is you're basically saying, are they pre-approved? Are they wanting to buy in the next 30 to 60 days? Then they should get the majority of your time, but everyone gets your time, but you just can't spend all your time with someone who's 6 months out looking for that, once in a lifetime buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also the conversation. Like I have a buyer right now who he has a full-size truck, his truck that's bigger than mine, and he wants to get a 5th wheel. So we had the conversation of like, he has a great house now and he has RV parking, but it's just not wide enough because he wants a bigger RV. And so I said, totally cool, but more than likely, are they going to have to get into a really established neighborhood with a very wide lot, or you're going to have to find something that's brand new in like something that also is that you're going to be able to create that wide lot and just have a narrower house, maybe make it a 2-story or something like that. So, yes, he's pre-approved. Yes, he's got a house that will sell in like 30 minutes. So that part of it I'm not worried about, but it's more of like, he also is kind of down the line a little bit, right? Probably not an A buyer that I'm going to show a ton of houses for, because I mean, I would literally have to show up to every RV pad and measure it, And so I just say, hey, I'm going to focus, on finding the buyers that also have properties they need to list, right? Because then you're hitting both sides. And also those kind of people are probably in a move or making a move where they're going to be a little more motivated to make the sacrifice of, the carpet's ugly. Cool. Great. Carpet's super cheap when you're spending $400,000, right? Like, what's carpet?
Yeah.
And then
you're finding too then, Matt, that you're finding people that want to sell their house are saying, I'm not going to put it on the market until I can find one, which means the inventory is staying really, really low, because everyone's like, I'm not putting my sign in the yard until I find something, and then there's no inventory.
Right.
It's a weird situation. Sorry, I'm keeping it off track. But.
No, it's the perfect dichotomy right here. That's part of the reason why I saw the place over on the Gordon downtown, and I had the conversation with her. I said, hey, like, if I list a property, these people are freaked out, right? Because unless you can carry 2 mortgages at the same time, which that's great. If you get that person, awesome, you're set, right? Because you have a whole lot of free time. But if you don't, then either you're getting creative with financing or you have to put them somewhere. And so putting them somewhere is also kind of scary, right? Because if there's no inventory, where are they going to buy? So having like something where you can say, okay, even if you're ready to buy right now, we can sell it right now, and then we can put you in something for maybe, you know, like maximum of, let's just say 6 months, knowing that at least you're going to have your stuff in storage. You're going to be able to relax. We can really hit it hard because now you're cash positive, right? Now you have some money in the bank because you have that equity, and then we can put down a nice strong offer, and yours is going to get accepted because, you know, you have a $500,000 house that you're going to buy, and you're putting $120,000 down because you just sold your house that you made 120 on. Now we can, you know, now we're a strong offer and you're going to get it accepted, and there's going to be less fear. Sorry, I'm going to read these comments real quick. Yeah, limited budget is, yeah, that's hard. I mean, that's the tricky thing, right? Where you're asking for closing costs. So it's tough to show them that. So Corin, I have a buyer right now that needs to stay under 200,000, which I think if anybody knows anything about the market right now, 200,000, that's tough, right? We are talking real serious condition issues that you're praying are aesthetic versus functional, right? Like bad roof, won't finance. Foundations jacked up, won't finance. No flooring, won't finance. Exposed wood on the outside, won't finance. Gutters. But if you can find something that's just got crappy landscaping and maybe super ugly carpet, like something that will finance, it's still probably going to be over 200. So at this point, you know, I just had a heart to heart, and I just said, you guys, honestly, I love you, but it's a hard price point. And I will basically just show them, you know, statistics. I'll just say, hey, this is, you know, I'll just pull out the TMO report. That's the easiest, like, slam dunk ever. And just go, hey, here's the report. Look, these are the number of properties that are coming on the market. This is what they're selling for. And like, I'm going to do my absolute best to find you something, but knowing that like it either needs to be right. There you go. Manufactured right on its own land. And even then manufactured on its own land is still over 200. Or in a park, which that gets then creative because unless they're liquid and paying cash, that's probably not going to happen. So I think it's just keeping expectations appropriate, you know, and saying like, I'm super looking forward to helping you, but like recognize that I'm going to keep this search going every day. I'm going to look at the market, but like, I think we need to have all hands on deck. I'm going to be looking. I need you to be looking. If you see something, do a drive-by, right? Like, and then of course, reverse marketing, where you're literally just, I have a cash buyer right now that's looking to flip a bunch of properties. Like his goal is like 12 a year. And so he's like, I literally want the ugliest house you can find. Go find it. And I was like, all right, like, let's do this. Right. And so.
Is he looking?
What?
I said, where is he looking? I have a listing that he might like.
Send it over.
It's a duplex.
Hey, always. He's always looking for something. Yeah. Because I mean, I think that's just the big, you know, of course it's easy when you have somebody who's like, hey, I got $100,000 down. I'm looking for 500,000. Like that's just semantics at that point, just trying to make sure that it's in the right neighborhood for them. But when you have somebody that's, you know, not super liquid and has a lower price point, just, yeah, I would just say have a heart to heart and you feel like, hey, there was one that I had that was looking for 150. And I was like, ooh, this is like literally, I haven't seen 150 in a while. I bought hers for 160 10 years ago. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, so just saying to them, hey, we are really going to have to go like Mapleton, like real outskirts of town. It's not going to be pretty. And if you're cool with that and you want to get a roof over your head, like awesome, you know, but just having those expectation conversations right out of the gate, once that price point's established, that way 6 months down the road when you just showed them 12 houses, 12 houses a month, and they're like frustrated that they're not winning any offers because we're just paper, super thin on being able to get accepted, then you're not spinning your wheels and they're not frustrated. And then the whole thing doesn't, go south.
How do you update them on, because I've been working with these guys for about 3 or 4 months, and it's just, usually I send them a property and say, hey, look at this. But if there's literally nothing on the market, like how do you stay in front of them to let them know that you're still looking, I guess is my, so I don't want to make them feel like I'm not doing anything for them. And, I haven't touched base with them in a couple weeks or month or whatever. Like, how do you stay in front of them?
So for the ones for mine, so I have 2 right now that are under 200, or like they're shooting for under 200. And I have said both like, hey, here's a property just like you did, right? Where you send them a property and either it doesn't work or they don't like it or whatever, it doesn't work out. I won't necessarily say, hey, there's still nothing on the market, but I'll say, hey, how are things going with you? Has any of your situational like metrics changed, right? So I'll ask them, hey, how is your debt to income ratio? Like, have you guys been chewing up debt? Oh, hey, have you been working more hours at work? Like recognizing that they maybe aren't in the ideal buying position, but engaging with them so that they know that you're still, doing something, but also saying, hey, while I'm still looking and there's nothing that's showing up, what's new in your life, right? Because everybody wants somebody to check in on them, no matter what it is. I mean, even if it's just saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe Tom Brady made it to the Super Bowl again, right? Like you're at least just engaging them. And so that way, you can parlay that into a conversation of like, gosh, I'm still, still looking. And I think just the engagement, even if you're telling them that there's nothing out there, then they recognize that they're still on your radar.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. New construction, Chelsea. Yes, you can do that. Now, I will tell you, I have not done any new construction. I know there are several agents in our office that do have had subdivisions, right? Josh Cooley's got like the whole dang golf course over there. But really that's just engaging the builders, right? And just building a relationship with them. But yes, I mean, that definitely does happen. I personally have not done it, so I can't speak from that kind of experience, but yeah, just reaching out to them and just saying, hey, in fact, I think Mara actually just made a text or made a message on the Facebook group saying that she's looking for a property or whatever. And somebody was like, oh, hey, talk to Bruce Weichert's general, and put his phone number on there. And I was like, shoot, I need to text that guy too, because I have a buyer, right? He's also looking at new builds. And I worked with him on something like a year ago. And so yeah, just reconnecting, being like, hey, you guys got anything coming up? Is there anybody? Now, those guys like that, right, are generally going to have kind of a short Rolodex, or they're going to represent themselves. So kind of maybe digging in a little deeper and, right, you're not going to represent Hayden. You're not going to probably go to Weichert right out the gate, but maybe find a builder that's doing a couple, right? Maybe like a Heitman Home, who maybe is only going to do, 5 or 6 a year. They're going to be higher end, right? So you can kind of foster that relationship, and maybe they're frustrated with their person they have now, and they just don't there's just not another better option that they know of. And you could sneak in and get a listing,
Hey, Matt, since we talked a lot about people that can't afford stuff, I just have to throw in one more thing before you move on. And that has to do with, if you know your financial situation of your buyer, and so many people get locked into these $400, $500 car payments.
Yeah.
If you're trying to think outside the box, see how important is this house purchase for them? If they're at least even and would be willing to sell their car and buy a junker to get them through life for a little while. It's amazing how much a $400 or $500 car payment gone can change the ratio makeup and possibly increase into a range where there's at least some options available. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, I think now, again, right, you're going to meet these people in person, and I take all that stuff into consideration, right? To some degree, if somebody rolls up and they're looking to buy, you know, a $250,000 property, and she's got Louboutins on, a Louis Vuitton bag, and they have a new BMW, then I go, okay, so are the possessions the goal, or is the not renting anymore the goal, right? And if that conversation looks like it doesn't want to go where they're not looking to sacrifice those things, right, Jeff, it might be a situation where it's like, hey, they might not be a like super A buyer, because I know that those things need to continue to stay in their life. But if they're like, man, we will do anything, I wonder, how can we get this house? Right. Then it's like light bulb. Okay, well, cool. You have a $480 car payment because you got a new 5 Series. Maybe we could drop down and save you $150 and get a 3 Series, or, you know, buy a 5-year-old vehicle, right? Like to sort of like manipulate that, and then just verify that information with the lender, right? And say, hey, would going from a new 7 Series to a used 3 Series, could that make a difference? And the lender's like, yeah, if I could get under $150 a month, we're in. Their credit score is great. They just don't have the income that we need. And I go, cool. Okay, perfect. You know, Stacy, yes, RMLS drip, right? That's what I do too. Yeah, just make sure everybody, every one of my buyers that's on there, all is on a drip, whether it like makes sense today, tomorrow, or in 10 years. I have people that have zero, they were like, hey, I'm out of the market, I don't want to buy a house anymore. And I still keep them on the drip, just because I know, hey, if at some point they open that email and go, whoa, that's the one, like my name's at the bottom of the list, right? Boom, they're going to call me. Like, it's going to be it's an easy reminder. Just making sure that they don't expire, and you want to make sure refresh that so that they're always, you know, that you're good. Many of the big builders hire their agents to be, yeah, you're right, Stacey. Like Hayden Homes, right? Tiffany over there, she does all theirs. Also a big thing, I'll tell you, that with some of these big builders too, is making sure that if you have buyers, once you get a buyer, to have a heart-to-heart conversation. And I will tell you, I literally lost my first deal ever after showing somebody 20 plus homes. 20, that's a lot of houses. And I was brand new licensed, and they ended up going to Hayden Homes. And because they got her under contract, like she signed up for more information, I automatically literally lost the entire commission out of that deal, and I wasn't able to help or be representative for her. So yeah, a lot of those big guys will have an in-house agent that will do it, and to make sure, hey, if at the beginning you have that conversation and they say, yes, I do want to potentially buy a new house, like a new build, make sure you put them in with your name first. And that way that locks you in so that you're the point of contact between the two.
How does that work if you have like a exclusive buyer agency in place or something like that? Can they get around that, or what?
So I had her buyer agreement, and the rule, now I think it's changed, I can't remember, or there was some not legislation, but there was like a big like hullabaloo about it, because other agents were like complaining too, or they were like, I procured this buyer. And they were like, well, it says in our thing that if they're not registered, they're ours. And I was like, oh, that was literally like an $8,000 lesson. And I was like, that's $8,000 I'm never getting back. So I just said, okay, like if at the beginning, if even that's even a remote opportunity, yeah, get them on that list. Go to their website, you register them, and then you're locked in as their person.
And that's the construction company's website?
Yeah, so I know Hayden does it. Trying to think of who else. I don't think Weichert has like an official sign-in. I know Hayden, just because they do of the volume that they do, they require that you do it. Otherwise, yeah, you're basically cut out. And they promised her the farm too. Like it was like a very good deal on paper, and it didn't end up being like that at the end. But I couldn't really like help because she was essentially already their client.
So would you do that with all of the builders in the area then if that's something that they were looking at, or any like potential builder instead of just one? You would just kind of go and register them at all just so that they're there?
Depends on the conversation. There was one buyer that I had and I said, hey, like, you know, the whole idea of me registering you, if you do decide you want to decide that you want to build a new, it's because it gives me the opportunity to represent you. Otherwise, I'm like literally cut out of the whole equation. And so I don't necessarily register them always because I don't really want to necessarily give them all my I don't want to give the builder my buyer's contact information right away. Like I don't want to just like be throwing my leads out there, right? Because obviously they're going to reach out too. So it's more of, you know, just having that really heart to heart where it's like, hey, if you want to do this, I'm totally fine helping you, but just make sure that like, don't cheat on me and I won't cheat on you, you know, because that way they know, hey, okay, great. Like Matt is the point of contact. And then if you need anything, then I will help you with that next step so that we can both make sure, right, that the contract is correct and that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. But again, just it's, you know, each buyer is a little bit different if they, you know, but I just make sure to have that conversation. Okay, Karen, I'm sorry, I don't know the Oregon bond program off the top of my head. Take a buyer's person, USDA. Yes, USDA, yes, is great for generally lower priced, and you can get it for $0 down. Chelsea, Zillow, yeah, it's, I don't know what to tell you. It told me that I sold 2 houses last year. So that's not right. And I don't know. And I also have a friend who's an agent and I texted her and I was like, hey, congratulations. You sold whatever the number I said, whatever Zillow said. And she's like, no, I sold twice that many. So if I'm going to steer you in any specific direction, I would focus on getting those reviews on Google. I mean, yes, it's always good to get them on Zillow, but just because Zillow they're now officially a brokerage, essentially they can sort of dictate what they show. And so because of that, you know, a lot of us are going to get lost in the fray. So like for me, I have Google, or I have Matt Kendall Realtor, I think it is, a real estate broker. And so I just created like a location. And so then I just send that link out. There's a specific link that you can get once you create it that asks for reviews. Yes. Okay, USDA loans. Okay, let's get back to, okay, so we all know prospecting is good. 4 C's, okay. What time is this over, guys? Is it 4 o'clock when it's over? I want to make sure to get through all this for you and not take up too much of your time. Okay, so 4 C's. Prospecting. Okay, we already talked about leads, appointments, right? That goes down to agreements, contracts, close payday. We already asked the questions. 4 C's of prospecting. So capture, connect, close, and cultivate, right? So capture, right? So you want to make sure and get their information. I'll tell you, it's always nice having Arlid in your back pocket, because if you don't have some information, you can always look it up there to be able to get addresses or purchase history of homes. A search that I do is, I can show you really quick here. Oh, maybe not. I think it's truepeoplesearch.com. Is that what I just said? True. Yes, truepeoplesearch.com. So like when we were talking about door knocking, right? If I have a great engagement with you and we're feeling each other and we're nice and you're laughing and I know that you understand that I'm like not a crazy person just trying to solicit, then I can go to True People Search, look up your name or reverse it right with your address or a phone number and go in reverse. And then I cross-reference it with Arlid. And then I make sure that is the person that lives there. Or if they are a renter, right, then I know that someone else owns the home, so that I can make sure and market accordingly so that I can, right, capture that information and then figure out the best way to connect, right? Because then I know when they bought their house, I can tell them happy house anniversary. I can send them sometimes I'll find people that I have door knocked and I'll send them a just sold card, right? So I literally have only met you one time. I don't really remember your name, but because I've looked you up on Arlid, I can remember to add you to my mailing list so that when everybody's like, whoa, East Anchor sold above list, cool. Then boom, I can make sure to send you one. Again, not invasive, right? I'm not like blowing up your phone or your email, but I'm still giving you that extra touch. And there's a good chance you're going to reach out because you already recognize my face from when I door knocked. Now you see it on a postcard. And then of course, right, once you connect, much more likely that you'll close. And then basically at that point, right, it's just a cycle, right? You close, sorry, connect, then you cultivate, right? Figure out what their need is, then you close. And then knowing, hey, let's either reconnect so that I can hook you up with a lender to refi down the road. Maybe your neighbor wants to buy or sell, whatever. And then, right, then you're back to close again and it just keeps going. Sphere of influence, right? It's huge. Making sure everybody in your sphere knows who you are, not just as you. Like I will tell you that I continually get, oh, hey, you're, where do you work? I'm like, Costco. They're like, yes, that's where it is. And I'm like, yeah, cool. So I sell houses now too. I know that for 14 years, I pushed carts, worked in the pharmacy, like did all these things. But making sure that your sphere, right, really knows that, hey, I've made this job change and this is my role now. And I'm super excited to help you buy, sell, or invest, right? That keeps you top of mind. And also just solidifies the fact that, hey, I did a great job at Costco, met a lot of great people. I don't push carts anymore for a living. Like I sell homes. So let's remember that when it's time for you to buy or sell, right? Okay, sphere of influence. So let's go down here. Page 22. So sphere of influence, right? You got lots of opportunity. You guys all, do you have this all printed out, or did she give you a packet? Or okay, so you all have this page 22. Actually, page 21, but that's a good example too, right? Your immediate family, neighbors, relatives, make sure that all those people on that list, right? Everybody knows you, not from what you used to do, but what you do now, and how you're great at your job and you are super pumped to do whatever they need to achieve their real estate goals. Really quick too, doubling down on what we were talking about, Abby, with your cards earlier, right? All of these people, dentist, right? A dentist needs marketing. Like some of these people already have marketing, but you can essentially be a tiny marketer for them. And there is that reciprocation of that. They're going to want to reciprocate for you and push out the fact that you're an agent now. So many of those opportunities are free too with social media, that sharing a post, just doing stuff that like I think is, underutilized can really garner some pretty big ROI. Okay, so 10 minutes. Let's do this. We'll just talk this one out in the, we'll talk this out. So it's very influence, immediate family, right? Everybody knows hobby sports groups, right? Of course, personal services, right? Like I said, my wife's nail tech, I guess, nail tech, my friends, right? Teachers, that's always great, right? Make sure to reach out and you're in a good relationship with kids, teachers. My mechanic, I love him, great guy. And make sure and share his post, or make sure and tag him in Facebook groups who are asking, hey, is there a great mechanic in town? You know it, boom. Will Marsh, bam. Right, relatives. Always want to make sure you're reaching out to them to know, hey, if there's anything you need. And for me, I try to get as less salesy with relatives as I possibly can. And just, a lot of them have asked me what their house is worth. Like, wow, the market is crazy high. And I'm like, yeah. Do you know that I have a relative who lives down in California? And I'm like, you know, your house, the comps are 1.1 million. And he's like, what? It's over $1 million? Now, right, the whole neighborhood's $1 million. So it's not, I mean, it's kind of like a $300,000 house here. They're all like that. But he was like, I have $1 million house. I go, dude, you apparently so. So he's like, I only paid like, you know, $210 for it, whatever. And I was like, well, you got a lot of equity there, brother. So yeah, just being right top of mind, easy. Church club volunteer, right? Other real estate agents, I'll tell you, like that is a huge one that I think that's also very overlooked, is being able to have real meaningful conversations with other agents and building those relationships. Because right, I know like by having conversations with Matt is a good example. I know that if I have a deal up in Salem, like I know he's got it on lockdown. I don't have to worry. I don't have to have questions where I get weird forms that don't make any sense or that are outdated, right? I know that he's going to be up to date on his training, and he's going to have all the necessary things to make sure the transaction goes smoothly. And I will tell you that's not always true with a lot of agents out there. There are some, now of course I'm a little biased to KW, but right, they just don't have the training. It's not their fault. They just are with a brokerage, or they're choosing to not have as much training as we are, or we have had. And they are rocky, right? They're rough. Where I go, man, we're not going to hit our close date again. Why? Well, I don't know why, because A, B, and C, but having those relationships, we can really, build that so that when you bring a buyer, you go, yes, like, yes, Abby, I guarantee you my buyer is like ready to roll. And you look at me and go, cool, I trust Matt. Awesome. Right? As opposed to somebody who maybe you've never met or has a lender from like, the East Coast somewhere, and you go, well, I mean, I trust you, I guess, because you're not going to lie to me, but like, right. So building those are easy because we're all in the same game. We're all trying to sell homes. So neighbors, right? Obviously you want to have a good neighborhood. So you want to meet those people. Professional services, right? Doctors, dentists, yep. Mortgage and title. It's always good to meet up with title. I can't tell you how many times that I get blown up by every title company that wants to hang out, like buy me a drink, have lunch, whatever, because we want to meet and we want to engage and make sure that I'm on the same page when they ask me. And I say, hey, are we going to close on time? And they go, yep, I'm just waiting for blah, blah, blah. And I go, cool. Okay. Again, right. Building those relationships where I know that it's going to happen. And then I trust too, when I say, hey, if I'm writing this for 30 days, can you actually do 30 days? Like, or is it going to be 45? And I have to explain to my buyers that they're not going to move into their dream home for 3 more weeks, which I have done. And that's, you get through those waters, but past coworkers, same thing. Right. I try to market as much as I possibly can to Costco because there's 400 people across the street that for the last over a decade that I've either worked with or helped in some way. So I want to make sure to double down, right? Banker, institutional financial attorney, right? I just met with a great CPA the other day because a financial planner that I met because I joined the board over at Ronald McDonald House. So now I have a great financial planner in my Rolodex, right? And I have an awesome CPA who's going to do my taxes this year. And I just formed an LLC, so I'm saving even more money, right? So building and fostering those, again, right? Maybe you won't get you 50 leads tomorrow, but over time, that's a great pipeline of referrals. Okay, time blocking. We'll watch this video. All right, I'm gonna start this and tell me guys if you can hear this, make sure it works.
Cool, so I'll say where we're from and then you get production.
Audio, okay.
Is that all right? Hi, my name is Dylan Provenche.
I'm Sean Provenche.
We're from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We're the Real Estate Brothers.
2014, we wrote 72 transactions for $47 million.
Sean and I are very lucky because we're actually fairly entrepreneurial in sales. So we were able to just sort of survive by luck and by just sort of being likable and nice.
We had a decent business that wasn't growing.
We did a lot of door knocking originally, but what we found was with bad weather, plus you have to drive to door knock, it was just too much of a wild card.
If we were to grow the business, we needed to add people to our database. And if we were going to do that, we needed a systematic way that we knew we could achieve results that were predictable. So we just kind of started cold calling
about 3 hours a day, and we found that the results were phenomenal.
Come take a look where we've been this whole time.
You can literally do it from your
It's just
kitchen.
more time effective.
Yeah.
If you're cheap like we are, you don't want to spend a ton of money on the web or in print. Telephone lines, you pay a monthly bill and you can call all you want. Why don't you come in here and show you the cold calling route? We've got a map where we've broken the entire city into zones. We like to target areas where we have buyers.
It's been scrubbed to the do not call list, and it still represents over 250,000 phone numbers. All of our desks have 3 monitors. We have Mojo in the middle. We have our scripts on the right, and then on the left,
Do some research on the house they're calling for, stuff like that. Cold calling is like adding jet fuel to your car or something. Like it pumps your business up.
we went from making
What was our first year? Like 70K. And then this year together we did 1.1 million. So this is Sean calling from the Real Estate Brothers. You know what? I'm so sorry to bug you today, but I just noticed that you have to treat cold calling as though it's an appointment. If you don't prioritize it, things will always find their way in and block you from being able to do it. It's the most important thing you can do for your business.
absolutely most important, and you have to quantify it as well. The bold 100 contacts a week is a really, really cool way
To set a bar.
to set a bar and get started and stick to it, whatever your decision is. I was just wondering, has anything changed in your plans? Are you still thinking this freight to get it on the market?
You can't think today was a bad cold calling day because today doesn't matter. What matters is what you accomplish in a year. And if you just keep adding people to your database and systematically follow up with them and take care of the people who you work for, you'll do great.
You're not always going to have great success every day, but it's by doing it every day that you have great success.
We're going to be in the neighborhood for the next 2 weeks giving free evaluations. You know what I'd love to do?
I'll say too that one thing that we were afraid of, and I think everyone is just the rejection side of things. People being mean to you on the phone and rude. We have this saying with our team that you're either part of our future or part of our past, and either way it's fine. But the people who are rude to us are obviously not going to be part of our future.
Have a chuckle about it. Like, honestly, when someone cusses at me or something, I just laugh because it's funny.
Hey, do you think that it might make sense for us to book something tentatively for the weekend?
The more time you spend not on the phone, you're losing money because that 3 hours of my day is my 20% where I make my money.
Don't get ready to start thinking about how you're going to eventually do something. Just do it. Like,
Just do
get
it.
done.
Stop watching this video, get off your butt and go start dialing numbers and talking to people. Just get on the phone.
Yeah, and if you hate money, don't do it.
Yeah.
I think.
If you hate money, don't do it. That is some, they are diehard, definitely diehard cold callers. All right, any takeaways, guys? What do you think of the idea of all that cold calling?
Honestly, I've been really hesitant to get into cold calling, but over the past week, I've just been reading more, and I've want a way to more actively prospect people, especially people outside of my sphere, because your sphere is only so big. And I think there's a lot of work to be done within the sphere too. But outside of it, especially, as I get to know more about real estate and stuff, and I feel like I can bring something to the conversation, I think that cold calling is seeming like less of a bad option, like something I'd be more comfortable with.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea as well, because I did a lot of recruiting through just having a list of people that might possibly fit a research project we were working on, and I had to call them and try to convince them in a very short amount of time that they wanted to be a part of the research we were doing. My question though really stems from like, how do we get those lists? How do we know that they're clean from those do not call lists? And then what are the key things you have to say in the first moments to get them to not hang up on you? Because that's one of the challenges that we had with research. I realized I had to say the money thing up front, like it was fast. I had to say, hey, I'm calling from a research project and I was hoping you might want to earn some money for just coming in and answering some questions. And it was like the first thing. Yeah. So what would be the first thing you would say in those situations? What does that look like?
Yeah, I will say, and it looks like, right, that it's not my thing. I don't love it either. Yeah, I'm pretty terrified of cold calling. I did it right when I first took Ignite for the first time. And it was like terrifying because to me, it felt disingenuous. It felt disingenuous farming for leads. But I would tell you that whatever you say that you are most comfortable with will be a success. If for me, it was as long as I had a purpose. So I got Mojo, right, which will will give you a list and then it'll scrub it for the do not call. And I called because I specifically had a buyer who specifically only wanted a home in South Eugene because she had a high school student. Her son was in high school, and they had to stay in the same school. So when I called, my purpose was, hi, like in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is super awkward. I'm just randomly calling somebody. They're not going to know who I am. But I would make the introduction and be like, hey, I have a single mom and she desperately wants to get in your neighborhood. It didn't include, are you looking to sell your home? Do you know of anybody looking to sell in your neighborhood? Right. So it was let's plant the seed of, I have a buyer. So first of all, it's a win because they already know there's the demand. And two, I'm not looking to sell your house. Sure, obviously I would love to, but it's not me holding a gun to your head saying, let's get your house listed today, right? Because then people go, okay, no, I'm not looking to sell, right? But maybe they literally just went and got the mail yesterday with somebody who's like, oh, I'm so looking to downsize. And they go, oh my gosh, Jerry across the street, he wants to bounce. Yeah, I do know somebody. Cool, right? And then I'm like, awesome. Please, can I get their information? Because I would absolutely love to go take a look at their home. Hopefully we can get something going and I can give you some great new neighbors, right? Make it a win-win so that you're not, for me, I can't do it unless I'm coming from value. So that's how I always started, was like, hey, I have a mom who needs to be in this school district. How can you help me? Right. And then they're much more like willing to go, gosh, we're not looking to sell, but like, maybe down the road. And I go, cool, awesome. Like I'll text you. I have a business card. So when I downloaded when I purchased my business cards, I got a PDF. And so I screenshotted it and I save it in my phone. So at any point I can just send that screenshot to anybody on the planet and I can send it text, and it literally is my business card, just a picture of it. And so that way they immediately have a face, right? Because my card's got my face on it, my phone number, my address, or the brokerage's address, my email, my website, like it gives all that thing, my license number, just to, validate that. Sometimes I'll even do it if I know it's a mobile number, I'll do it while we're on the phone. So I'll text them. I'll be like, hey, I just sent you a text of all my contact. And they're like, oh, cool. This guy's legit, right? Like he exists. Cause I get robocalls like all day long. And so to give some validity where someone's like, oh, Matt's actually Matt. Okay, cool. Like this guy is real. Helps kind of land it,
And what is your response when you were doing it to people that said, how did you get my number? Like, I know we could just say through this, service called Mojo, but I mean, is there a way to describe it where it sounds a little bit like less invasive?
I'm trying to think of I think I actually probably said that I got it from Mojo. I mean, I think I just say, hey, I have access on county records because it's public information, right? And I just say, hey, I've got, as a realtor, I mean, I really double down on the fact that like I have access to this information because my fiduciary is to my buyer, and I want to make sure that I am in contact with as many folks, in the city that I live in. And so then they're like, oh, okay. Because as long as the conversation gives recognition to the fact that it's public, like that it's out there already, not like I'm like a creeper who like has stole your mail and found out what your, got your Verizon bill and got your number, right? Like it's all out there. It's just a matter of making those calls. And so I just say, yeah, that information's, readily available.
That's great. Thank you. Because that's really, I think, the concept. I mean, the only reason I'd even be interested in cold calls was if I thought that I was going to be offering a service or value to the person I'm contacting, which was the reason behind doing research calls, because I wanted to get people involved in research that was beneficial to them short term, but also long term beneficial in programs and processes that were instituted because of that research. So doing, a call for real estate has kind of similar things. The end result is that we find people their homes and places where they can live and feel comfortable and have as their very own. And those things are really an altruistic goal in the big picture, although it's short-term beneficial to me, as an agent, but kind of crossing that bridge.
And part of it too is, depending on your buyer, I will tell you that pulling on heartstrings, I'm not above that. That she's a single mom with a child. Like that is we need to get this person not renting anymore, right? We need to get them cash positive so they're building equity so that down the road they can have this valuable asset. And so, if you got an investor that's got 10 million in the bank and he's just looking to buy up a street, it's a little, you have to be, you have to change your language a little bit, but I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not above saying, hey, this is a true story. This is really what it is. This person, I need them to stop renting. I've been renting for 20 years. This is something that we need to get them in the neighborhood. And people are like, oh, that's great. So excited for that person. Right. And then there's that sort of organic, people want a win, right? They want to be able to be part of a win, and it's an easy win. You don't have to tell me somebody that's looking to sell today, but if you know somebody in the next 6 months, boom, here's my number, call me, please,
And just to touch on that thing that you just talked about with the investors, the idea behind investing, which makes me more comfortable with it for people that are going that route, it's not as homey feeling as, finding your first home where you can hang your hat, where your family is, but building your legacy so that you can help your family and that you can make a difference in your community if that's the way you want to go eventually, because you'll have that financial stability and that income coming in so that you can do the things that you really value in the relationships that you have.
Well, and part of it too, my investor, he wants to flip a ton of houses. So obviously that, for me, is an income generating tool. But also there are so many houses right now, that are vacant, that are dilapidated, that are abandoned. It's a ridiculous number of homes that you could drive around. And if you slow your car 5 miles an hour and really look at some of these properties, there's a ton of houses that just need a cold call where it's what are you doing? This literally, I drove by one in Springfield the other day and there are blackberries growing over the roof. Now, if blackberries grow over the roof, that thing has been vacant for a very long time, right? Probably a tear down, probably bulldoze it, but that's a perfect opportunity, right? Hey, guess what? All that's going to happen to this house is it's going to get bulldozed, but do or do you not want a $50,000 check? Any idiot is going to say yes. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm literally paying taxes on this property for the last 20 years. Yeah, I'll cash out, right? And the investor says, yeah, great. Now I can buy cheap, sell high, right? So he wins. I win because of the commission. And there's a potential first-time home buyer who's now going to get a home. So it's literally every part of that timeline, everyone wins. And the neighbors win because guess what? There's also not a dilapidated house with blackberries growing over it, and their property value, big shocker, right, also goes up. So it literally is a win all the way down the line. So, right, yeah, saying, hey, I have an investor who's looking, can we make some kind of deal happen? And as soon as you say investor, right, they understand that it's going to be cash. So there's not going to be some situation when people worry, oh, is it going to finance? No, we're not worried about that. It's just going to be a check and I'll see you in 10 days, So, okay, time blocking. Let me go back real quick. PowerPoint. Okay, so we just did that. Time blocking. Prospecting. Okay, let me kick this guy on for you. So this is prospecting opportunities.
Lead generation is your number one job. You have started by calling your Mets, your sphere of influence. You have even reached out via social media. But what do you do when you run out of contacts? Where can you find more leads? There are many places you can find additional prospecting opportunities. Think about your children's sporting events or activities. And don't forget about your own organizations and clubs. Your children's school or PTA would be an excellent source for contacts, as well as your place of worship. Even your mechanic. They rely on referrals for their business just like you do. Using these and other sources for prospecting opportunities will lead to more contacts and referrals that will grow your business. More contacts and referrals will lead to more appointments, listings, and closings. This will help you meet and exceed your goals.
Very true. Just outside the box, you know. Back to present. Yeah, there's never a bad opportunity. I'll tell you, and I don't know that this hasn't paid off yet, but I bought. So I don't know if you guys saw for Oregon football and for Oregon basketball, you can buy a cardboard cutout, right? So you can buy a cardboard cutout of yourself or your dog or whatever, right? So what I did was, a buddy of mine works at the ticketing office, and I was like, I want to buy one of these. I don't really want to spend $100, but what I did was I took my picture, I put it in Canva, and me, so I did one like this, right? I did the Oregon Duck O. So the check mark and the Oregon Duck logo's here. I put my logo on here to make it marketing material, right? And so I did it. So I put it on social media, and now it was at Austin, and now the next one's at the basketball arena. And so it's just like one more chance that somebody in that production line of putting it up, or the guy who's taking it down, or who knows if someone during the basketball season is going to see it, right? Is just, I think, one more little different way to sort of set yourself apart, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm not going to necessarily do, I mean, not that traditional methods aren't good. They are fantastic, but also just saying, hey, we can't do these giant gatherings. We can't do all the things that maybe over the last 10 years you could have a massive party for all your clients, figuring out ways to get in front of more people, just kind of like massaging that to make it make sense. I mean, obviously for your budget, right? Like I'm not spending $10,000 on a billboard, but $75 for the cutout, you know, was like, well, it's marketing. So let's just see what happens with it, you know? But just continuing to try and, you know, while you're also always doing the same core things, try and kind of recreate the wheel a little bit with different methodology that maybe other folks aren't thinking of. Let's see, okay. Prospecting sources, okay. So where are we finding business? Okay, door knocking, right? Talk about geographical farming. Is anybody doing any farming like with postcards? Mm-hmm. You can always call a title company and they'll give you a farm. I just called one the other day for that house on Anchor. I said, hey, I need the closest 200 homes that are owner occupied. Yeah, Chelsea, you got it. So basically I just said, hey, I need the 200 houses. And then of course I'll do, excuse me, those 200. And then I have another 50 you know, Mets that I want to make sure and blast that out to some past clients and some families, some friends, and businesses too. For sale by owner, right? Always a good, I just was at a for sale by owner Saturday, and had a great conversation and just laid it out for him. And I just said, hey, like, I'd love to represent you, obviously. I also have a buyer that potentially could be interested. And, you know, I love, you know, here are kind of the potential pitfalls, and here's what I can do for you. And if you want to list with me, great. If you don't, like, you know, but just understanding and figuring out what opportunities are out there. That's a great one, because right now COVID's a little tricky because, right, you can't just like roll up on anybody's house. You have to, you know, make the necessary contacts prior to make sure that, you know, everybody's safe, of course, and stuff. But
hey, Matt.
Yeah.
If you're doing farming, are you putting all of those people into command either before you farm them, like send postcards out, or are you doing it only if they contact you back? Like, what does that look like?
So I've been doing it through CoreFact because I just have been going through the title company, and she is really great, and CoreFact is cheap. Obviously it is possible, yes, to do it through command. I haven't worked a ton in doing it through command. So yeah, I put them in. I don't put them into my command database, but because when they mail, they don't have a complete, like, I don't have a phone number and email. All I have is the owner name and their address. So I blast those out, and then anybody that replies to the actual postcard, then they get put into command. So that way, then I can put them on a smart plan. So yeah, expired, withdrawn, right? So withdrawn, right, technically means they're more than likely, these are kind of general statements, but withdrawn generally means they're still under contract, right? So I want to reach out to the agent. Hey, what happened? Why is it withdrawn? Did it catch on fire, or did they just get cold feet? Like, give me some more details. Expired, right? They're out of contract. And then just double check, right? Make sure that a lot of times in RMLS, when they come up on expired, they're not actually expired. Sometimes I did this the other day where I was just about to send a card out, and I realized that it was because the agent changed brokerages. So it officially on RMLS expired, but then it was already new back on the market under a different number. But great source, right? Because obviously once they've expired, that means either they weren't treated right by the agent, or they listed too high and they just need some better education, or something else, or maybe they just don't want to sell now. But hey, at one point they did raise their hand, so you want to make sure and call on them. Open houses, when they happen, yeah, definitely, right, go take a look. Agent referrals, right, that's a huge one. That's one of the main focuses actually for this year for myself, is building a really great national network. I'm part of a couple of groups where I'm the only agent in Eugene. And so I'm really trying to double down to make sure that they know that I'm the go-to in Oregon. And then from there, right, I can then push out up to Salem, up to whatever, Portland, down to Roseburg, and refer those out. But making sure that, you know, when they think of Oregon or Eugene, Lane County, right, that they think of mine first. So those national referrals are huge. They can really be beneficial. And then of course, social media, right? We all know Instagram, Facebook. I very calmly and quietly am getting on TikTok, even though I'm probably far too old for TikTok, but I'm trying because you know what? There are also first-time home buyers on TikTok, and you gotta go where the people are, you know? So yeah, so we do what we can with that. So for sale by owner, let's see, go back. Expired. Okay, we're gonna go page. Yeah, social media, right? Hashtags. There's a couple of really great. I know for Instagram, Chelsea Pites, talking about finding business. She has all kinds of ideas. Really great to follow. I've had a lot of good conversations with her over the last couple of years. How best to kind of not necessarily beat the algorithm, but really make sure that you have good content.
Who was that?
It's Chelsea Pites. I think it's Pietz. Double check. But yeah, she like, I mean, everybody knows Gary Vee, but Chelsea Pites. Yeah, Peitz. Chelsea Pites. But yeah, super great. She works with, or she used to work with, not Western Title, but Fidelity.
Okay, is she on Facebook or something like that, or where do you follow her at?
I follow her on Instagram. I think she is on Facebook too, but her like niche is Instagram. She's really good at it with reels and with stories and all that stuff, like all little kind of tweaks and hacks where, yeah, I walked into that meeting actually. It was down at the Graduate. Yeah, I'll write it in here for you guys. Feeling like I kind of knew a lot about social media, and I was like, I feel like I can, like, you know, I can hang. I'm pretty like whatever, cool and young, whatever. And you know, there's probably 60 or 70% that I already kind of had a handle on. But there were a couple of nuggets where I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And she's always dropping tips and tricks and stuff on her Instagram. So yeah, whenever she has a story, I'm always clicking on it just because, you know, subconsciously there's definitely some connection to be made, especially if you're doing it by location and you're really reaching out to different businesses. That's another big one, right? Like, this is free stuff, guys. Like, we're not doing billboards and stuff, but by putting someone else's business out there, they're growing and it's free. And there's so many free tools that, for me, that was like a big one where I was like, even if I do every once in a while, I'll do something stupid on Instagram where I just feel like it's going to get no traction. And then it does. And I'm like, why did I second guess this, right? Just post the content. And, you know, obviously as long as it's clean and you're making good choices as adults, but you know, then there's going to be somebody out there that's going to find it funny and you're going to be able to have that engagement. Post about there's so many on here in your chapter, guys. Post about listings, right? Always about listings, images. If you like interior decorating, like whatever you like, I think that it's a big, it makes you more comfortable in whatever you're posting or whatever you already know about, right? And you can parlay that into real estate. So I hate lowriders. Sorry, I like trucks. I have a V8, right? I need it to be off the ground. Cool. So I'm probably not going to be best friends with a whole bunch of lowrider guys, but I can also make sure that if you also have a truck that likes to go into the mud, that you know about me because we like the same thing. And then, sidebar, like I'm also a realtor, right? And so these little engagements can just be really huge if you just do this stuff for free, you know. It doesn't have to be like shocking statistics. I mean, obviously I always do a market update every time title company posts it, right? I take their content. Cascade Title does a great post once a month, right? Whenever the new market numbers came out, I said, cool, that's great, but it's all branded to Cascade. How can I brand it to myself, right? And if you have a post with more than one picture, you get repeated shows on Instagram, right? So cool. So I'm going to make it 5 slides. I'm going to make one of those slides a video. Now I've checked all the boxes. And when you follow me, you also know how the market is doing, right? So like sort of being able to sort of duplicate things to be able to get the information out to the people. Congratulate new homeowners. Yes. Like these prospecting sources, right? Facebook, we all know, there's some oversight. So you have to be kind of careful. I think, Chelsea, didn't you ask a question about that? Yeah, business page. So the last time that the rule came out, it was like I will post a listing, right, on business page. And if I share it from my personal page, straight share, no comments, I'm good. But if I have dialogue like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool house, then I need to make sure and add Matt Kendall Weiss as realtor, Keller Williams, Eugene Springfield, with my number, with my license number, right, to give some validity to my post. So as long as you're doing that, right, then you're fine, like from a legal standpoint. And it's kind of one of those things that if people, someone's going to call you out for it versus like the board's going to see it, right? So you just want to toe the line because then you don't get tattled on. Twitter's a great one. Twitter's good. Again, everybody kind of needs to find their niche, right? I'm not good with Pinterest, but my sister is crushing it with Pinterest. And you couldn't pay me to try and figure out Pinterest because I don't understand how it works. I'm not good like that. But she has so many followers and she has this blog and it has like tens of thousands of views every month. And I'm like shocked every time I see it because I think the content is super boring sometimes. And it'll be like, boom, comment central. And I'm like, man, if she could just remind people her brother's a realtor, I think I could get another half dozen deals, So it's kind of what you feel comfortable with, right? Instagram. right? LinkedIn's a big one. That's a little more of the professional side, right? So when you're prospecting there, it's a little more kind of buttoned up. But you can make some great contacts, right? Meet CPAs. That's a great one for networking around the country, finding good agents. Because, right, top agents want to hang out with other top agents. And also top agents also want to help new agents coming in because they want them to succeed too. So that's a great one to just foster those kind of relationships on a little more professional level. YouTube's good. I am not super great with YouTube because I think I am a little OCD where I want to make sure the video is perfect. So I haven't been behind the camera a ton, but yeah, definitely great for like walkthrough videos, drone footage, right? Get that stuff out there because it's just one more medium that it's got a super clean app, right? Where you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it in your car, you're going to watch it, whatever. You're going to be able to access that information pretty easy. Blogs, same thing, right? If you have good content and if you know, whatever, like even if it's not even a real estate blog, if it's just a blog explaining something that you're really into, if you love the Oregon Ducks, cool, right? They're about to hire a new defensive coordinator. Like you could write a blog on how you agree or don't agree with that. And at the bottom, right, have some kind of follow-up line of maybe maybe whatever, you want to help somebody find a house here so they can go to more Duck games, whatever, Community websites. Yeah, so another big one, right, is going to be at Nextdoor, right? So Nextdoor is cool. I don't have, I have a profile on there and I think my actual name is like Matt Kendall Realtor, I think. So even just like me representing where I'm from is like gives that sort of aura of I'm in real estate. And then I just comment on people's posts all the time. I'm like, hey, cool, this is going on or whatever. I posted my Christmas tree pickup and made sure to put that out there, right? So just one more easy avenue, right? Again, it's free. So I think being able to exploit as many free options as you can. And then of course, based on the content, right, then sure, throw $50 at it, push an ad out there, get a few more clicks and get it going. But yeah, I think that's, and of course, the other demographic, right, is not everybody's going to be on Instagram. That's totally fine. Knowing, hey, we also need to maybe talk about, how do we get the right demographic of maybe first-time home buyers that are a little bit younger, that haven't been in a home for 30 years and they're looking to downsize. Maybe the downsizers are going to need a postcard because they need a tangible piece of mail in their hand, So obviously everybody's different. So you want to kind of not just necessarily pick one only thing and stay in that lane because you're not going to hit nearly as many people. And also not spreading yourself too thin because you don't want to try and like create 45 pieces of content every morning because you want to hit every website on the planet. It's just not going to happen. It's just not, good to time block that much out. Let's see. So when you work with title companies, those lists. No, they don't. There's no phone numbers on there. But I texted Kristen the other day and I just said, hey, I need the 200 houses. So basically she just sends me a, not a PDF, it's called a CSV, right, file in an Excel spreadsheet. And it just like lays it down. Now with CoreFact, she sets it up for me so that the lines are with the postcard. So there's a code for every postcard that goes out. So like Stephanie, yours is going to be different. Chelsea, yours is going to be different. Tyler, yours is going to be different. Every time that one goes out, it's specific to you. So Tyler, when you log in, I'm like, oh, Tyler logged in at 10 p.m., right? Chelsea logged in at 10:15. Like, cool. All right, I know that that's where they live and that person engaged. So I'm not just like, oh man, I got a hit. Who is it? Right? It's like, cool. I know Tyler's interested. He actually looked up his own home's value. So yeah. And then they, at that point, right, once they check into that, then at that point, I know that they're interested. And then I, of course, follow up with that. And also those lists, because those lists for me, once they go into Corfact, they're saved. So I save them for each listing. So depending on what it is, like if I have just a general, like Happy January postcard that I want to send out, again, right, in Corfact, I can choose each list. So I'll just choose like Anchor, right? So cool. I know that those 200 people already have seen my face once. I want to wish them a happy Valentine's Day, right? Maybe I don't, but maybe I do. And so I can kind of cherry pick. Maybe I won't necessarily send, like a new listing to all those properties, right? But if it's a marketing piece, then I'll make sure to blast that out to as many people as I can that at least have already seen me, right? So I'm continually having that follow up, which is a little tricky, right? Because it's going to cost money for each postcard. So kind of that's sort of how that's sort of what dictates whether you get a postcard or not, right? Is like, you don't probably need to know about every new listing that I have. If I've only ever sent you about a closed property. But if you're my dad, you're going to get a card every single time, because for the love of God, if my dad sends a lead to someone else, lose it. So, I want to make sure that like those people continually are reminded of that. Okay. Become a lead generation machine, right? My fear of failure. This is a great quote. Right? My fear of failure was greater than my fear of lead generating. So, right, it's pretty blunt. Would you rather fall on your face, or would you rather make an awkward text message or a phone call? Now, not to say that that's always the case necessarily, but just trying to keep that in the back of your head of remembering, hey, like, right, I hate cold calling, like I said, but sometimes if the situation needs it, then I'll jump on the phone and pick 50 numbers and start dialing, putting it all together. So let's go back here. Yeah, that's good. It takes purposeful practice over time to grow in any area. Yeah, right. You can't just sprinkle one thing. Like, you can't make 3 posts on Instagram and be like, oh my gosh, why don't I have 100 billion followers? Right? You have to be consistent and continually do those things. Now, I will tell you, the other day I was complaining because I only had like 1,000 people following me. And someone's like, 1,000 people? And I was like, yeah, it's only 1,000. And then I was like, wait a minute. This is the dumbest conversation I've ever had. If it's one person, if I'm engaging with them on a regular basis, that's a win, right? Because someone who has 1 million followers, you're not going to sell 1 million homes to 1 million different people. But if you have one person that consistently wants to buy and are consistently engaging with you, then like that's a win. That would be more successful, right? All right, guys, we're getting close, I promise. Putting it all together. So action plan, right? So we want to make sure and prepare for our next class. So continue to add contacts to your database, right? Develop methods of prospecting, right? Like we talked about, whatever you guys feel comfortable with, just make sure it's consistent, and then it happens every day, and it happens whichever way you feel most comfortable, as long as you're putting in the action, right? You're planting those seeds, that fruit's going to come eventually. Right, put your 3 and 3 time blocking into action. Prepare your next class. Download. So we got to make sure you guys download your pre-work mission. Make sure you bring your laptop. Let's see. You guys have that on page 39. You're gonna make sure to do that for the next session, mission 4. No cards. Get ready to report. List the names. Let's see. Sorry, Tyler. What did you say? Oh, I already answered that. Yeah. She just sends me the addresses and names. Also, by the way, Tyler, I will tell you that when I do it, also, depending on what the card is, I will make sure that I ask her to specifically weed out owner occupy versus renter. So if I am seeing this property's just sold and I know what the neighborhood demographic is, then I say, okay, looks like there's a lot of owner occupieds. We need more listings. I love buyers, right? Don't get me wrong, but like listings is what's going to get us more inventory. So I'll say, hey, cut out renters. I love them. They need help too. But like ultimately, I want to make sure that my face is right in front of all the people in that neighborhood that have ever even considered selling, because that's what's going to help the buyers that I currently have backlogged for the last 6 months, right? So like to help these folks, I'm essentially doing double fiduciary duty. Yeah. So Dustin, that's one of the things that I just make sure to tell her, that she scrubs the list to make sure that the information is correct. And they can get you phone numbers. The tricky part, I'll tell you a quick story right before we go. One time I was just cold calling for that South June buyer, and I called a guy, and I forget what his name is, like Mike or something. And I called, and he starts cussing at me. And he was like, "This isn't Mike. Mike's been dead for 2 years." And I was like, "Ugh." And he goes, "If you mother blankety blank ever call here again." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Like, it was like his dad, I think, who had died. And that was the son. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm like, it was like, I couldn't say I'm sorry fast enough." So it's not bulletproof, right? You're not going to like necessarily get a list that's going to be perfectly like crystal clear, because you just never know who's going to answer sometimes. But yeah, so I had pretty good success with Mojo. But yeah, you just be prepared that you're going to probably get a couple of those where it's like, whoop, like he was not happy. And he was like, "If I'm ever going to sell, I will call you." And I was like, "That sounds great. You have a great week." Like I couldn't end the call quick enough. But I'll tell you that to kind of bury the hatchet, I grabbed the thank you card and I mailed him a thank you card because I got his name. Again, I don't know what it was. Now it's like whatever. And I just said, "Hey, thanks for taking the call. I apologize about the miscommunication." Like I wanted to make sure that, and again, he hasn't called back, so it's not like I'm like waiting patiently by the phone. But I also wanted him to know that I'm not a jerk. Like I just want to make sure the guy, like, if he's looking to sell, I got a buyer. So like, have a great day. If he threw the card away, so be it. But there's also the chance that it's sitting on like the whatever, right, the mantle. And at some point when they decide to, sell, then they call my phone. So you never know. But yeah, nothing is 100%. I'll tell you when you're dialing for dollars. So let's see what I got here. Okay. All right, guys, we are golden. All done. Do you guys have any questions or want to ask anything else before we shut her down? Yeah, you're very welcome. No problem. I'm glad to do it, guys. If you have any questions at all ever, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm also doing the profitability this year for ALC. So we'd love to have you guys be a part of that if you want to. So I made a Facebook group actually also. So I'll add you guys in there and we can talk more if you're interested. So, all right, guys, thanks again. I really appreciate it. Questions.
Thanks.
Hey, you bet, guys. Thanks. Again. Have a good rest of your day.